Bet I got you right. You were expecting to see Davia Chambers, but it's me, Avian Parks. Today we're at Seclusion Villa, located in the urban community of Crown Point. And we're bringing you updates of all the happenings that took place in Tobago over the last week. Stay tuned. In the headlines, water management project launched in Charlottesville. Dwight York Stadium hosts CONCACAF Nations League. And Tobago hosts the Down Syndrome Day Conference 2023.
When the quarantine thing done and everybody touch road. A brown skin. Girl, I wanna wrap you up. Lift up your head and hold it up high.
Water is life, and in this next story, we tell you about a water management project that was recently launched in the eastern village of Charlottesville by Eric. Residents are excited as it has the potential to significantly change their lives.
Charlottesville is the chosen community for the water and wastewater management project. This pilot program is spearheaded by the Environmental Research Institute of Charlottesville, ERIC, and GEF Crew Plus. The project runs from March to September 2023. It features activities to increase the availability of clean water and reduce fresh and seawater pollution.
We are attacking the problems on the household level and create benefits for people directly. So for example, we will deliver additional water tanks to people. People will get water-saving shower heads. People will get tips on how to conserve water and how to reduce pollution. We will also fix and pump sewer, and that will be done for almost everybody in the community. So there is a direct benefit for the community, but also we can learn whether these approaches can work on other islands.
Well, I think the initiative is a very good one. For so many years we would have been plugging for something like this. At present we don't have the type of water system that we need. But I have learned to live with what is there. However, if what is there can be improved, I'd be happy.
I believe that this project is a great initiative for my hometown, Charlottesville, and I believe that it would assist many persons in the community in getting access to water and also being able to store their water.
Water is a basic human right. Let's start there. It is a basic human right. And as much as it's a basic human right, it's also a basic human responsibility. Because while you have a right to have access to water, you have a responsibility to protect our aquifers, to ensure that your runoffs are safely handled, and to ensure we protect what we have going on in our beautiful bay there.
I'm Amadara Mills for Let's Talk Tobago.
Staying at Seclusion Villa is like a home away from home, especially if you're sitting in this beautifully decorated living room. And talking about home, our next story is from the Division of Settlements, where we tell you about their low-cost housing project, the Home Project. So listen up as we bring you more details.
The layout of the house is like 2 bedrooms, a toilet, the room, kitchen. The size is like 11 by 10, bathroom like normal concept, double living room, full dining room here. I say completion of this building, so we have about 2 weeks time max. We're doing a cladding on the outside, the inside is a fire rating board, gypsum ceiling, right? And well, normal tiles and stuff on the ground.
If you're a football lover, you'll love this next story, as the Trinidad and Tobago Soca Warriors chose the Dwight York Stadium for their qualifying match in the CONCACAF Nations League. We missed out, but in Tobago, we had a blast. So take in the highlights.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, good afternoon. And we're gathered here for the game of your life. Lovely, lovely, lovely. I want to see you put your flags up in the air right now.
I find it keep me okay to the people. We don't come out and support. I feel proud. I mean, I would like what you get away so we can go through. But I still feel proud that it's like, you know, because it was real fight. It was real fight. How you feel to be at the game in Tobago?
I feel like I win the lotto today. I won all, I'll still accept that as a victory.
I say win or lose, I am a fighter. I'm a soca warrior. I got to shine the nationality fighter. We will attack, we will defend. We will to pressure them to the very end. On the position that we need. Hear me now, we go defeat them all defeat.
Well, I must say, win, lose or draw, I am a diehard supporter. Trinidad, we have Tobago, and I am Tobago, and I will always be. Even though we draw, we are fighters, we can reach there somehow, we will get there again. There is always time to recover.
Well, I had a lot of fun in this area here, which is the Jane Monkey section. We had a lot of fun, money well spent. We had performances, we had dancers, we had a nice little rhythm section. We had a vibe, we had a time, yes. Win, lose or draw, you know, pride is pride. We love what we love. I mean, we love the boys regardless. We drew tonight and we gotta take that. But next time, I think we may come out victorious.
Normally, Tobago don't get anything. The event is always good. We're happy to have a game played in the Dwight York Stadium. The result is not what we wanted, but at the end of the day, it's all about Trinidad and Tobago. It's all about the sport. It's all about the people.
Almighty God, I lead with. Hear me now. Anytime you see we in we uniform, to get the victories and also I'm a soul.
We take a short break, but when we return, we tell you about a much more than socks initiative. Let's Talk Tobago. We'll be right back. Stay tuned. Seclusion Villas and Conference Center is conveniently located in close proximity to the island's popular attractions and nightlife, such as the A&R Robinson International Airport and Storby Beach, as well as the Nylon Pool Tours. Seclusion is perfectly suited for your team building sessions, business retreats, corporate events, conferences, weddings, vacation for up to 18 guests or 30 guests for executive conferencing. Each villa sleeps up to 9 guests, has 5 baths, 4 bedrooms, equipped with kitchen and modern appliances and high-speed Wi-Fi internet, while the conference center is outfitted with all equipment for video conferencing. Don't miss Let's Talk Tobago. Here's our schedule. Tobago Channel 5, Saturdays 6 p.m. Rebroadcast Sundays 8 p.m. Tobago Updates, Mondays to Fridays 6:30 a.m. M&D TV, Mondays 9 a.m. and Wednesdays 9 p.m. And Gael TV, Mondays and Wednesdays 11 a.m.
Come on and let's talk Tobago.
This simple but chic staircase takes you upstairs to the bedrooms of this beautiful seclusion villa. Our next story is about socks, and Tobago took part in the World Down Syndrome Day celebrations. the need for awareness and sensitization still is very important. So listen up as we tell you what Tobago did for World Down Syndrome Day.
Every day is a waterfall, and suddenly it's hard to breathe. Now and then I get insecure from all the pain. What does it mean to have Down syndrome? It means to respect your ability. I know I need to work a little bit harder for certain things. It also means to not allow people to bully you and to bully others with disability. I just started high school this year in grade 9. I love it.
They have to be taught to make their own decision. And we cannot effectively allow them to do that if we continue in our wisdom to treat them as special, as incapable of doing anything, segregating them from birth, and thinking that we are doing the best by protecting them and keeping them dependent on us.
In the Tobago House of Assembly, our policy is to be as inclusive as we possibly can. So I wanted all of us to think about what we do every day that prevents someone from being who is disabled and prevents that person from functioning in society because of what we did or what we didn't do. The Tobago House of Assembly, and coincidentally, we actually had a conversation in Executive Council last week, or maybe the week before, maybe it was the week before that, where we actively agreed to include within our working space primarily individuals with whatever kind of disability and include them within our working spaces within the Tobago House of Assembly.
Mom, all women are beautiful. That's what I said one day to my mom, and she turned and said, "You were so right." Then she asked me if I liked to model, and I said yes. We were giving tickets to a runway show. As I watched it, I knew I wanted to be a model too. Shortly afterwards,
Easter is around the corner, and in Tobago, as usual, there is absolutely no shortage of fun activities. In this next story, we tell you about an Easter netball camp. Here's more.
She's a player turned coach with an unshakable passion for netball. And Kyla Keith Wilson is giving back through an Easter netball camp. So if you're a parent looking for a wholesome activity for your child during the Easter vacation, netball is a great option.
In Scarborough Sec is where that passion really grew, you know, coming into contact with Ruthlyn Antoine, our PE teacher, you know, and it just blossomed into a love, a desire, a passion, where I would have tried out for national under 16s and so wasn't successful, but you know, was determined that netball will be given an opportunity to be seen. Unfortunately, I got injured, so that changed from being a player to administration, and administration alone was not cutting it for me. The name of my academy is Knickers Netball Academy. We have been in existence for about 3-4 years now. Well, of course, we had COVID, so we were not able to play any netball. So I used that period to do more certifications, qualifying myself. The camp runs from the 3rd to the 6th of April, from 8:30 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. It's $300 per person. You are equipped with a T-shirt. You have breakfast on morning. You will be supplied your hydration and so during the day. And on the final day, as I said, it would be a grand day where we have lots of games, fun activities, and treats and so for the kids. Their children more exposed to being physically active. So this is my plea to Tobagonians. Come out, have your girls involved in the sport, have them registered, get them registered as soon as possible, and let us build the sport of netball.
I've loved netball since Standard 1 because, I don't know, it just brings out a light in me, and it helped me with academics too because I wasn't that well doing in school, but as netball come, encouraged me more to be like, I want to be somewhere, I want to do something.
During this Easter camp, I'm looking forward to learning how to play netball better, how to grow as a netballer, and have fun at the same time.
I would like to develop new skills and techniques, and also to increase my personal growth, and also to meet new friends and form bonds.
I'm Kern De Freitas for Let's Talk Tobago.
And that's a wrap for us here at Let's Talk Tobago for yet another week. If you need more information on Seclusion Villas and Conference Center, contact them at 689-6872 or their social media handles at Instagram and Facebook at Seclusion Villa. On behalf of the Department of Information, thank you for viewing another episode of Let's Talk Tobago. See you again, same time, same place. Bye.
October will never be better with Tobago Carnival Fever. Okay, passage and come on over.
Tobago, it's time to go. Sweet like
Tobago, here's the real deal. Nothing sweeter than when your internet fast all day, every day. I telling you, it's real nice when your home internet and TV package fit your budget. Well, if that's what you want, you're safe with Digicel Plus. Sign up or switch to Digicel Plus now and pay $0 for 1 month. Plus, plans start as low as $199 and you get installed for free. Visit DigicelTT.com or a Digicel store now.
Tobago is Easter, so join us. Call Thorns Place 745-7306 or 682-8676 and book your stay now. Rooms as low as 200 TT. Message us on WhatsApp, Facebook, and Instagram. Just a 5-minute drive from the Scarborough Port. Tobago is Easter, so join us.
You can now get whatever you need whenever you need it anywhere in Tobago with Tobago. Your meals, medication, groceries, and shopping all delivered directly to you. No more hassle, no more stress. Get the Tobago app today on Google Play or Apple App Store.
That's TAPPOGO and let us deliver to you.
Check our website at www.tapogo.app or call the experts at 494-TOGO and 484-4746. Tobago. Relax. We will get it to you. Tobago's at your service.
Tobago Glass Supplies has been a leading name for over 37 years in the glass and aluminum market in Tobago. We provide an extensive range of high-quality, innovative aluminum and glass products for commercial and residential use. Competitive prices with superior and professional services by committed employees who are guided by rigid quality standards. Tobago Glass Supplies specializes in the manufacture and installation of glass and aluminum products that are essential to today's homeowners and the business environment. We are engaged in marketing, sales, and installation of a variety of products. These ranges from windows and doors to necessities such as mirrors for homes and vehicles, designed and manufactured in-house or imported.
Tapicom. Welcome to the future. The only card you will need in a new world. Digital business cards. Safe, hassle-free. The future is here. Tapicom. New generation digital transfer. Digital time clock cards. Digital attendance cards. Air tags. Customized designs. Digital clothing tags. Digital pet tags. Tapicom. The future is here. Contact us today.
Everybody only worrying. Never ever worry. Don't mind how things looking hard. I tell them never ever worry. If your life can't get damaged bad. I tell them never ever worry. What I'm saying is true. So just consider Tatil is always right here for you. I tell them never ever worry. Don't mind if life make you sad. I tell them never ever worry. If your house get flooded out real bad. I tell them never ever worry. What I'm saying is true. So just consider Tatil is always right here for you. I tell them never ever worry. If sickness catch you off guard. I tell them never ever worry. If times fall on you real hard. I tell them never ever worry. What I'm saying is true. So just consider Tatil will always be here for you.
Never worry about a thing. Tatil, where people are people. You know what I mean.
Full disclosure with the executive every Thursday at 8 p.m. only on Tobago Updates. Real questions and honest conversations with the sole aim of keeping you fully in the know. Full disclosure with the executive every Thursday at 8 p.m. only on Tobago Updates.
It's a different type of thing down there. And we party till we drop down there. With a lot of pretty girls down there. Down in Tobago.
Put a smile on your face when you're moving from place to place. Good morning, good morning, morning, good morning, morning.
Good morning, viewers, and welcome to the Tobago Updates morning show. It is 7 a.m. and we're coming to you live here from the Port Mall in Scarborough, Tobago. Yes, viewers, it is Monday morning. As we continue to give God thanks for life, I am Julian Skeet. Yes, and I'm here with you this morning, solo, Ria, wherever you are out there. Keep safe. Keep safe on the outside this morning. Yes, viewers, we want to say good morning to each and every one of you. Those of you joining us within Tobago, those of you in Trinidad, across the region and the world at large. Thank you so much for continuing to choose the Tobago Updates morning show as we come to you here live from the Port Mall in Scarborough, Tobago. Yes, folks, it's been a weekend, that kind of a long weekend. Well, if you were in the lineup of persons in Trinidad and Tobago who happened not to be well on Friday, I've got to put it that way because that seems to be trending when there's a long weekend. People tend to apply for that in-between day in order to lengthen it to the full extent. Number of things happening here within Tobago on the entertainment front. We certainly had that push happening with the In His Presence, the series lineup that took place there at Shore Park. I saw a number of persons out in celebration and support. I suspect that's where perhaps Ria may have lost her voice this morning, but we're not saying anything for anyone to hear too loudly. Good morning to you, Ria Richardson George. All right, viewers. As we also continue to pay attention to the happenings, both on the local front and national. in the mix here within Trinidad and Tobago. Things continue to get very interesting. Even when we look at the political mix and the positions and posturings coming out, one leaves us to wonder consistently, will it get better? Will it get worse first before it improves? But we continue to look out at all the developments happening here within Trinidad and Tobago. And yes, it's Monday morning as we approach and we're heading into the Easter season. And yet, once again, I feel as though I can pull that clip from the last year or two and press play. We are calling on Caribbean Airlines. And yes, we are calling on the Port Authority of Trinidad and Tobago. In case y'all are not aware, let's put the notification out there. We are approaching the Easter season. Yes, we are approaching the Easter season. A very busy and a very hectic period within Trinidad and Tobago. I am trusting that the necessary arrangements will be put in place to facilitate additional flights. Already persons are saying, I cannot get a flight to come to Tobago. And I cannot get a flight when I get the chance to get here. I cannot get a flight to return. So we are calling on Caribbean Airlines and we're calling on the Port Authority. Please, folks, let's attempt to ensure that we put the necessary arrangements in place. Yes, we knew well in advance that this was going to be the Easter season, but I'm putting the notification out there, Trinidad and Tobago. Those of you with Caribbean Airlines and the Port Authority working in Tobago, those of you working in Trinidad, feel free to communicate this information to your respective heads. Yes, there is the Easter season coming up. And that is going to be immediately followed by the Jazz Festival taking place here. Major activities happening in Tobago. And that will automatically require more flights to be able to bring persons across to the island, and similarly, more flights to be able to take them back. So I'm asking, please, assist us as best as you can in the circumstances. Caribbean Airlines, I'm calling on you. And the reason for that, quite obviously, is I would have been in Trinidad this weekend and saw once again the challenges happening in relation to persons being able to access flights. In fact, very long lines, numbers in hand simply waiting to purchase a ticket. I'm not even talking about waiting to get on to standby. I'm talking about numbers in hand simply waiting to purchase a ticket in order to be able to get to Tobago. So I'm going to remind you again, and we're really hoping for the very best under the circumstance, because this continues to be a challenge that we really, really need to overcome. And I am hopeful. Yes, Caribbean Airlines, we know you're going to put out that grand release that says how many seats you made available and how many seats were utilized, but something is wrong in the system, and I want to make that very clear. So as much as your statistics may read one thing and the people of Trinidad and Tobago experience another, you've got to find that middle ground, which is a solution. So it's not about just identifying where you felt you have won and we continue to identify the problem and the challenge. You've got to find the middle ground in terms of the solution. And, it takes me very much into a point that would have been made also over the course of the weekend. And I think it's timely to share that message with Caribbean Airlines. If the diagnosis is wrong, then it's very likely that the treatment that is being prescribed will be wrong as well. So we want Caribbean Airlines to get the diagnosis right. And those are the words of Reverend Adolph Davis yesterday at the Palm Sunday service. Very good service there taking place at the Scarborough Methodist Church yesterday. So we want to remind Caribbean Airlines, let's make every effort to get that right. And I'm seeing persons already messaging me, those on WhatsApp, giving their personal experience with regards to the challenges that they are already facing and continue to experience. So we're really asking, please, let's make that extra effort to get things right. All right, viewers, at this point, we head on into Tobago in Focus.
We have one woman being diagnosed with breast cancer every day as we speak. This is Trinidad and Tobago statistics.
Right.
And we have 2 dying every 3 days.
From breast cancer?
From breast cancer. One woman, 1 out of 9 women will be diagnosed with breast cancer.
The grim reality for many families in Trinidad and Tobago. In Tobago, the medical professionals at the Tobago Regional Health Authority's Oncology Unit provide holistic treatment as men, women and children grapple with new diagnoses and ongoing treatment for cancer. In the commemoration of International Women's Day 2023 and in the spirit of the theme, #Embrace Equity, the spotlight is on education, especially in the workplace.
May I say to employers, please, when your female employees come to you and say, I'm going to have a pap smear or breast examination, please give them that time to come. Because if they are not well, they can't come to work, right? Family would be losing income. Yes. Mothers, children will be losing mothers and so on. So please, I'm in the process of sending out letters to employers to ask them to partner with the TRHA to allow their female employees to have better health by coming to have their screening.
According to head nurse of the oncology unit, Karen Frank, women must learn to prioritize their health.
Your health is your wealth. Without good health, you cannot achieve the numerous amount of things that we women would like to achieve, such as caring for the home, caring for the family, a whole host of things.
The TRHA Oncology Unit is a statutory body under the Division of Health, Wellness and Social Protection.
And welcome back to the Tobago Updates morning show, coming to you here live from the Port Mall in Scarborough, Tobago. Yes, viewers, at this point we head on into our birthday celebrations. And we get started this morning with birthday greetings going out to Jada Charles. Jada Charles, wishing you birthday greetings. I know Jada would have celebrated over the weekend, and wishing you a happy birthday. And if my memory serves me well, Jada would have co-hosted with Luke over the Carnival season in terms of the Carnival activities. All right, good morning and happy birthday to you. We're sending a birthday shout out. This collage and the lady in the middle is Luan James, and this very special birthday greeting is coming out from Luke James Trim, one of our youth hosts here on Tobago Updates, wishing you a happy birthday. All right, and we have on screen with us Kayla Lewis, my correction. Kayla Lewis, wishing you a happy birthday. I know she's probably going to be upset that I'm mixing up with her sister, youth host Kaylee. All right, Kayla, wishing you a happy birthday, and God's continued blessings coming from Kaylee and the entire family. Cindy, Philip, and your entire family, wishing you a happy birthday. And folks, this gentleman here on a screen, very easygoing, very humble, calm, cool, collective guy. Yes, this is Judan Jofield. And Judan is one of our youth producers here in the mix, making things happen with a number of our inside and our outside shows. Want to wish him a happy birthday and God's continued blessings as he continues to celebrate. I know it got started over the weekend, Judan, but it continues. On screen, we have McKees Henry. And McKees Henry, we're wishing you a happy birthday coming from the Tobago Updates family. We trust that you enjoy the celebrations, or rather continue to enjoy the celebrations. Yes, and another birthday greeting coming in our lineup from over the weekend, Kamaria Keynes Dumas Jack. Wishing you a happy birthday coming from Clavia and the entire family out there. We know that the celebrations would have been well into the weekend. And who knows, it's probably going into today. Time will tell, but we are certainly wishing you a happy birthday coming from the Tobago Updates family. All right, viewers, at this point, we're heading straight on into our rundown for this morning. And this morning, we have the opportunity to be in conversation as we speak, Sargassum Relief Initiative and the Marine Resilience Initiative. We will be chatting with Assemblyman Natisha Charles Pantin, and she's the Secretary with responsibility for the Division of Food Security, Natural Resources, the Environment, and Sustainable Development. So we look forward to those upcoming discussions with Assemblyman Natisha Charles was panting. We'll also be chatting with Sergeant Joseph Jordan of the TTPS, and we're speaking to updates. What's happening here in our Tobago space? We'll also be chatting about children's care and custody during the Easter holidays. Important for us not to take that for granted. And in our lineup this morning, we'll also be chatting with Vonette Bigfoot, the recording artist, and she's due to hit the Tobago Jazz Festival 2023 stage one-on-one with Vonette. So we look forward to those discussions taking place this morning. Yes, viewers, to each and every one of you, we want to express our continued appreciation and thanks for choosing the Tobago Updates morning show. And to remind you, those of you joining us via the TV this morning, thank you. And those of you connecting and listening in on the radio as you're heading on in, yes, folks, it's just about 7:14 a.m. This morning. And we want to remind you, those of you online, that this is your opportunity to share the live, share the live, share the live.
This is how it's gonna go. They better look up below, 'cause this is your show, and everybody's gonna know. Say it to them once again. They better look up below. This is your show, and everybody's gonna know. That's how it's gonna go. They better look up below, 'cause this is your show.
Put a smile on your face when you're moving.
Good morning, viewers, and welcome back. It is 7:17 a.m. this morning. Welcome back to the Tobago Updates morning show, coming to you here live from the Port Mall in Scarborough, Tobago. Yes, viewers, in this segment, we're happy to have on set with us Assemblyman Natisha Charles Pantin. And you know, there's always so much to talk about and not enough time with you. Good morning and welcome on set.
Good morning, Julian. Good morning, viewers.
All right, so as we get the conversation started this morning, we want to start on the topic in the first instance, the Sargassum Relief Initiative. Give us a little insight into that initiative and its happenings, particularly now within the Tobago Speaks.
Okay, well, the last influx of sargassum we had, we had to deal with it hands-on, meaning get contractors with heavy equipment to remove the sargassum off the beach, because as you would see over the years, we have had so much of it that you know, a shovel and a bucket can't really assist you know, those persons who want to utilize the beaches, tourists who occupy the hotels. They are the ones that have been complaining, and therefore we had to sort of do an emergency relief by removing all the sargassum, particularly at Magdalena, right? There was sargassum right up to the swimming pool. So you would imagine that, you know, with that foul smell and you know, all the wildlife being trapped inside of it, that we really had to bail them out in order to protect the tourism product that they are offering there.
Tell us a little bit. We know for a number of years this has kind of confronted us head on. What are the plans or projections in relation to dealing with this? We've had conversations with, you know, Sean down there at the recycling facility in Shore Park. What are some of the plans in terms of really trying to see, because it's going to keep coming apparently, especially at this time, in terms of how we are able to better utilize and to treat with it as the times and the cycles come around?
Well, last time the project implementation unit, they did an excellent job at controlling the sargassum influx. When I say controlling, at least removing it from the beachfront. But our challenge continues to be funding. And we had to basically remove the sargassum, and you know, the Chief Secretary, of course, would have assisted us in terms of covering the cost of removal. And this time around, the ambassador from Japan, they would have, along with UNDP, they would have asked, well, trying to assist us in getting the funding in order to remove the sargassum. So that would involve purchasing dump trucks and conveyor belts and, you know, all those equipment so that we could remove it, right? I know that a lot of people believe that you can use the sargassum for agriculture, but you cannot use it in the state that it is in, right? It will be very toxic to the plants and to yourself, right? It's definitely, you cannot use it in its current form. So it has to be processed and treated in order to be utilized for any other process.
A very important point, because that was my next question, in terms of a lot of people seem to be indicating that it could be used. So what you're saying clearly is it's not advised.
No, it's not advised. And that is why we did not send the sargassum to farmers or anybody that requested it, because we didn't want to be responsible for, you know, putting toxins into people's bodies. So we have been advising persons that you cannot use it in its current form. It must be treated in order to be utilized in agriculture.
All right. Any hopes and projections in that area would eventually be able, whether it be to acquire the equipment, the necessary expertise, and so on, so that we can find some possible ways, and even the necessary research and going out there if you have to, connecting with other agencies and entities along with your technical officers to see what the possibilities are out there in the world at large?
Well, it's interesting. I'll tell you something. We had, you know, several committees last year, and one of them was farm technology. And Melanie Trim and Alicia James, they were on that one of the committees there, and they would have taken some of us to UTT in order to see what are the possibilities of sargassum seaweed. And so far, it's looking like charcoal production, right? We saw equipment there that could do the conversion, but a very small scale, of course. But you know, we're starting to look at what is possible out there, and then we'll be able to utilize the sargassum in a meaningful way and a safe way, most importantly.
All right, so the research is being done. But in the meanwhile, are you giving the assurances that the necessary teams will be out, whether it be between your division, works, whoever has the resources, because we know quite a few equipment would have been purchased to ensure that it doesn't become a burden on the residents in the respective areas?
Yes, of course. We will mobilize those departments. Last time we had project implementation unit accompanied by forestry. Ideally, we should have had fisheries and Department of Environment coming on board. However, we will be mobilizing persons to ensure that we create the safe environment on our beaches, and of course for the the wildlife that is within that vicinity there that often get caught up in the sargassum seaweed.
All right, we're heading on into the next area where there's the Marine Resilience Initiative. Tell us a little bit about this initiative.
All right, so that initiative it was launched, I think it's a community symposium. So IMA, that's the Institute of Marine Affairs, they launched the 8th community symposium. And that was basically to assist Tobagonians with the necessary research that is required to manage our marine biodiversity and marine resources in an effective way, right? And they would have rolled out several presentations, coastal protection, mangroves, seagrass beds, coral spawning, coral reefs. So they gave several presentations, all backed by research. And it is hoped that all the stakeholders, those persons utilizing the resources, the marine biodiversity and the resources, that they would be able to utilize their resources in a way that it would maintain the integrity and protect it for future generations.
All right. So for us, when we're looking at marine here, we're speaking just to give us a broader perspective for the benefit of those who are not familiar. This marine initiative is speaking more to marine life in terms of how we preserve and so on.
Correct. That's the Boca Reef area, Bonaccord Lagoon, right? And of course the UNESCO Man and Biosphere area there up in the northeast.
Right. As you speak to Boko as well, tell us a little bit about that in the context of, I know the marine park would have been one of those things, you know, becoming very crucial to us and clear, you know, demarcation in terms of the species and so on. What has the progress been with that area when we speak broadly about this marine initiative?
Okay, so I would describe it as a work in progress. IMA is a key partner with us, and the pillars they are focusing on is ocean stewardship. And I said earlier that they are focusing on those stakeholders and those persons that utilize the resources. So they have been mobilizing the divers, the tour operators, fishermen, right? So they are involving them in the project. And of course, protecting the marine biodiversity and, you know, towards building ocean resilience. So that is what they have been focusing on, the 3 pillars. And they're involving Tobagonians in the process so that we can manage in an informed way, right? I think that IMA should be applauded highly. I've been to their research institute in Trinidad, and I'm very impressed with the quality of work that they have presented over the years. So I think that they should be applauded for coming, you know, into our space and assisting us with the necessary research needed in order for us to protect what we utilize in order for us to make an income. So all those fishermen, the tour operators, we need the science in order to go forward to manage our resources effectively.
So you're saying, coming out of this initiative, the relationship that has been developed with the IME, that we're certainly going to look forward down the road to some clear defining policies and action that will lead to, you know, in a beneficial way in terms of our marine?
Correct. Recently, they acquired a space at Pigeon Point, so they will be setting up a research field station, a marine field station. So they will have a presence in Tobago, and they will continue to monitor, you know, pollution, ensure that the water is safe for bathing and all these things, coastal protection. So they are going to continue providing the necessary research so that we can make informed decisions, both the Tobago House of Assembly and the stakeholders of the resources around the marine space.
All right. Any additional information you would care to share with us, particularly on those 2 initiatives that we may not have covered just yet before we move on to the next area, both the Sargassum Seaweed Initiative and the Marine Initiative? Any additional information you'd like to share?
Well, I'm grateful that Tobago would be receiving money. I think it's about $12 million thereabout for among the 5 countries that have been earmarked for assistance with the Sargassum seaweed. So it would be Trinidad and Tobago, Barbados, St. Lucia, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, St. Kitts Nevis. So we should feel privileged to have been selected as one of those countries that would receive assistance. And of course, you know, this whole Sargassum thing is all about nutrients, right? Nutrients being leaked in the ocean. And that's why you have all these blooms. Yeah, so we have to be mindful that what we do on land affects the marine, you know, the wildlife, the marine resources out there. So
we have to be particularly careful, not only of contributing to climate change, but how we, we view our existence here in this whole, in the world, right? We have to understand that what we do, yeah? And, when I talk about it, sometimes I look at, how we manage our waste on the island. And I know this is, I'll digress a bit, but sometimes you look at, those bins that we provide, those community bins, and then sometimes, you would pass by and you would see people just throwing anything at the side of the bins. Look at the Gibson Jetty, for example. Sometimes you pick up old fridge and stove and all sorts of things, and that is not what is supposed to happen. Those sort of waste supposed to be taken to the dump. But people continue to just dump indiscriminately, and they don't think about how it impacts, nature itself, and in turn how it affects us. Yeah, so we have to pay particular attention of what we do on our little island called Tobago.
All right, excellent. And you touched on that area, and I had to get a quick update. The Little Tobago, we know that there would have been the consultations that took place, and looking at the consideration of realistically putting a fee so that it contributes in some way. We know it's not going to cover the cost, but it contributes in some way to help offsetting costs, and we get to that point in Tobago where we recognize we've got to contribute to the development of our said island and take that responsibility, even if it means visitors are paying and our locals paying a lower fee. Tell us about the progress since the consultations that took place regarding Little Tobago.
Okay, so far they have been building a presentation for the residents at Speyside and environs, and they're going to continue to work towards coming to coming to an agreement on the way forward in terms of managing that space, that Little Tobago product that we offer to persons who frequently visit there. So so they are continuing to build on the presentation to go back to the stakeholders and say, look, this is what you contributed to, and if this is what we want in order to go forward. Yes.
All right, excellent. We got some photos coming up on screen, and I say photos, and Secretary's eyes gets open wide here. This weekend you would have had the Mainridge Forest Fitness Challenge that took place, I think it was on Saturday. When your colleague was on, I know they gave a commitment for you in terms of, tell us a little bit about how that experience was, because I see that you were all out in the activities as well. Photos courtesy the Division of Food Security, Natural Resources, the Environment and Sustainable Development.
Okay, all right, so we had 240 persons registering for the 5K, the 15K, and the 20K, which were the cyclists, right? The turnout was pretty good. Outside of those that registered, we had over 300 people participating, because there were people who just came to walk. They didn't really want a prize, but we still gave them medals, because as you could see, the medals, it's a commemorative piece. It's something that you would want to take and say, look, I covered that distance. What was shocking to me is that a lot of persons covered that entire distance from Sid Gray to Bloody Bay in just over 1 hour. I felt that was amazing.
Wow.
Right? And, generally persons felt that it was a challenge indeed, and we should have it annually. So that was a general...
and this was the second execution.
The second execution.
How would you make the comparative between when it started last year in 2022, again, during what would have still been, a core part of the pandemic, and now in 2023?
The last, I think it was 2019 or 2020. Right. We had about 166 persons registering and participating. And of course, you'd have minor teething problems, yes. So, I would say we had more persons coming from Trinidad this time around. So, I think that as we continue to market it, because we're having the virtual run for 2 months, and I'm seeing more persons outside of Tobago appreciating what we have in Tobago. So what I would like the next time around is for all Tobagonians to come out. You don't have to walk it, because I know certainly I can't cover it in 1 hour.
but you did your best.
Yes, but the experience, just going across the main ridge, experiencing that microclimate,
nature in itself. It's totally different from all other areas in Tobago. It's scenic. I mean, in a different way. I think just having the experience of the main ridge is worth it. So I believe that next time around, more persons could come out. We had BeesNet, representatives from BeesNet. They are the ones that they're currently looking at pollinators on the island and how we manage our pollinators. We had the Wildlife Association, we had the Tour Guide Association. So all of them came together and presented whatever product at the end of the race. And all the Trinidadians, persons from Tobago, persons from my constituency, they also came out and they said, this is an excellent initiative, keep going, because this is something that is worth selling to the entire world.
And I think it's a strategic way as well to get persons to really be able to see and to enjoy and to experience what we have right here in Tobago. Just before we wrap as well this morning, we have heard the issues being raised through Minority Leader Kelvon Charles, Kelvon Morris. Sorry, I'm renaming the minority leader here. My apologies, Kelvon Morris, raising concerns in relation to the challenge with regards to workers being able to be paid on time, etc. And making reference to the fact that a conversation took place with you, where as secretary you indicated apparently that there were some challenges in relation to the vote that is supposed to meet that commitment to make payments. How do you respond to that?
Well, there isn't a line item for the development workers. Actually, what happens whenever planning sends money, and I like to describe it as drip, drip, because sometimes in the quarter you get $100,000 and all these things, right? You have to actually pull money from different areas to pay workers. And under development, for the entire fiscal, I get about 24.7 million, thereabout. And out of that 24.7, 23 million just for wages. But you don't get that money one time. That is the problem. You get it drip by drip, because development, you're actually supposed to finish a project and then get paid for it. Development, it wasn't meant for workers, it was actually meant for development work. But what the previous administration did, they hired workers under development, and the workers expected, okay, since I'm being employed, then I'm supposed to get paid every fortnight. But planning, the Ministry of Planning, they don't send the money every fortnight or before the fortnight begins. They don't. They actually send money in part every quarter throughout the fiscal, so that we can pay off for our development projects. So we wouldn't have the funding upfront, and that is why we would have worked, continuously, because last year we fixed some of the workers because we don't have all the funding just yet. We don't have the allocation, all the funding. So we started to fix workers. So I show you recall, we have reforestation workers, for example. I know that's under reforestation, but we have looked at the problems and tried to fix it so that we don't have, those wage issues all the time. We have looked at different persons under development, but we just don't have the entire allocation. So some workers would be affected until we resolve that problem. And what I did, I put together a team from within the department, in the division, and I sent them to planning and budgets and finance, and they have been working together in order to see how we can fix the problem. So it's a work in progress, right? We have done everything in the division so far, so it's just the Ministry of Planning to send the money to us, right? So I hope that, I know I'm speaking quickly, but it's just that I'm saying development money is meant for development work. But what they did is hired persons under development so that, they could just, So
you say ultimately that, so is it that it's going to continue like this, or you don't have much choices in terms of making the adjustment from development to recurrent?
Right. So we do have the allocation. That's the problem. And, but persons from budgets, finance, and my division, they have done what they need to do in order to present the information to the Ministry of Planning so that they understand that it is not development in the correct sense.
it is actually workers getting paid under development so that they can send money in advance so that they can be paid. Yeah? Right? So that is one mechanism, yes.
So part of that solution would be getting the necessary funding ahead of time. Do you anticipate that that will happen?
Nobody likes to hear that news.
I'm asking the question. I'm asking the question realistically, in the context of we're operating Trinidad and Tobago. We know that by law there's supposed to be certain movement of funds within particular time frames, etc. Whether it be development, recurrent, and Tobago's entitlement. Do you anticipate that that's going to find a solution, or there may be the need to find some kind of internal solution here at the level of the teacher? Because hands down, when it comes to people's pay, they're not concerned with whatever method the former or the current administration use. They just want to know that they're going to get paid.
They aren't. But as I said, finance and planning, they are the ones to, to look internally and see how best we can adjust funds. I mean, we have to understand that, the divisions, they receive funding, to do different things. And, once you utilize that funding, as I said, if you utilize development money instead of using it for development, and, then we would now have to strategize as to how to, convince central government that this money is not for development really, but it's really to pay wages. Yeah, so it's something that the THA has to look at and correct. But I don't think that, as a caring government, that we in any way would try, just sit by and not look at the issue and try to treat with it. I know people are impatient in this space, but it's not something overnight that could happen. It's dependent upon different, different government bodies in order to get the approvals and to send the allocation and all of that. But it's something that I'm on top of. I don't see that, that Ms. Pantin will just sit by and not pursue and continue, because the team is there and they have been liaising with all the necessary persons.
All right, so ultimately what I'm getting is that it's not exclusively a THA matter, but it also involves the players, which is also connected with central government yes. to be able to determine how this is being treated within the final analysis.
Yes, without breaking any financial rules, and so we have to follow different guidelines as well. But I don't anticipate that anybody would just sit by and let it continue. The development. We have development workers, not only in my division, you have development workers across other divisions in works, for example. So it is not specific to my division. And that is why sometimes you hear other divisions having issues with development workers. It's because of the same thing. Development money was made for development, right? But central government not seeing it as wages for workers, they're seeing it as projects. So they send the money after the project has been completed. And that's a challenge.
Very, very, very interesting indeed. All right. Just before we wrap this morning's interview, any other things you would want to provide an update on in terms of very quickly as we wrap? Because I know your division, and there are probably about 5 other areas that I'd like to touch on. But my director won't allow because time doesn't permit. But very quickly, in closing, anything else you'd like to highlight?
I like to, I like to thank all those who have worked alongside me to ensure that I understand all the issues when I assumed office, and all those that continue to work with me in order to see that agriculture, remains relevant in the space, that we give a facelift to agriculture. Agriculture has always been seen as punishment. Long time they send you outside to do. But now we are looking at agriculture as a science and a business. And 1 year and a couple of months, I believe that staff, persons in the community, that they have volunteered. I think that we are doing a good job volunteering our services, sometimes for free or late at night, to ensure that agriculture remains relevant in the Tobago space. Because I really and truly believe that we could excel, and that is my mission. And when I say agriculture,
I don't mean just agriculture, but environment, energy, and all those portfolios under my division, that we come together and really show Tobago that this is our Tobago and we can work together and do meaningful projects across this space.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Secretary Natisha Charles Pantin, joining us on set here this morning. Yes, folks, and the division has so many things happening at once. In fact, we're even on the live scene, Big Up Home Gardening. We didn't even have time to talk about that this morning. And certainly one of our viewers saying the main ridge at 20K was gruesome, but so worth it. I love Tobago. Really good feedback here indeed as you continue to make efforts within the division of food security, natural resources, the environment, and sustainable development. Yes, folks, one of those hefty divisions that continues to be managed, and we continue to look forward to the outcomes coming to us. Thank you very much again, Assemblyman Natisha Charles Pantin. Viewers, at this point, we want to remind you, Sydney Beauty Salon and Fashion. They've got a sale on their products, wedding accessories, makeup, eyelashes, wigs, weaves, braids, and so much more. Contact number 7990661. And they're located at lot number 1, Smithfield Plaza. And that's after JG's. And the sale runs from Monday, April 3rd from 10 a.m. That's Monday, April 3rd from 10 a.m. So we're reminding persons, Cindy's Beauty Salon and Fashion. Connect with them from 10 a.m. this morning for their sale on products taking place. Viewers, we want to thank you so much for the continued love and support, and for most importantly, continuing to choose the Tobago Updates morning show as we come here live from the Port Mall in Scarborough, Tobago. Once again, we remind you that this is your opportunity to share the live, share the live, share the live.
It's time to go. Geld in die eigene. Sweet like
Tobago, here's the real deal. Nothing sweeter than when your internet fast all day, every day. I telling you, it's real nice when your home internet and TV package fit your budget. Well, if that's what you want, you're safe with Digicel Plus. Sign up or switch to Digicel Plus now and pay $0 for 1 month. Plus, plans start as low as $199 and you get installed for free. Visit digiceltt.com or a Digicel store now.
MI4 Security Services Company is the most advanced security service in Tobago. Ask about our cash in transit service. It's safe, risk-free, reliable, and timely. We provide safe banking delivery for all business types and sizes with highly trained staff, 24/7 monitoring, coordinated emergency response, and a well-maintained fleet of armored vehicles. Contact us at 660-7723 or visit our website at www.mi4securitytt.com to sign up today.
We live where you vacation. Come let we go, come let we go, come let we go to sweet Tobago. Come let we go, come till you know. Come find your soul in sweet Tobago. Come let we go, come let we go, come let we go to sweet Tobago. Come let we go. Find your soul in sweet Tobago. October will never be better with Tobago Carnival fever. Okay, passage and come on over. Put a smile on your face when you're moving from place to place. Good morning.
Good morning, viewers. It is 7 7:48. Good morning, viewers. It is 7:48 a.m. This morning, and welcome back to the Tobago Updates morning show, coming to you here live from the Port Mall in Scarborough, Tobago. In this segment, we are chatting with the TTPS Sergeant Joseph Jordan, joining us here on set this morning. Good morning to you and welcome.
Good morning to you. Good morning to Trinidad and Tobago. Good morning to your viewing and listening audience. Thanks for having me today. Pleasure being here.
All right, excellent. We get the conversation going immediately. We're speaking childcare and custody during the Easter holidays, and we want to start off on the premise in terms of perhaps what are the usual challenges that will occur around this time, and what is the firm advice and guidance of the TTPS?
All right, so school is out. One of the things that many of us as adults, guardians, parents do, we often send our children to camps. And what we would want to advise is that these camps that you are sending your child or children to, do some research on them, do some background checks to ensure that these are legitimate and professional persons. Because you don't want to find yourself in a position where you have to go and rescue a child from a camp or a hike because you chose to send them off as some sort of to oversee them while you are at work. So we want to advise persons to make sure that these camps are properly supervised, and you ensure that you do the appropriate checks before sending them off. Another thing that we want to touch on during this Easter time is the fact of the beach. All right, because we often see the beaches filled with people around this time. And what we want to do, especially when it comes to children, before you leave home, have that discussion with them on beach safety practices. And remember, the beach is not a swimming pool. Some of us, as we often see, some people say, ain't going to beach. They see and no branch. And it might sound comical, but it's something that's very serious. When you're going to the beach, you need to be prepared. I mean, if you know you can't swim, stay on the shore. Don't let the water pass your ankle. All right. So we want to encourage persons, that the parents in particular, before you leave home, do that briefing with your children or child, because what often happens, by the time you get to the beach and they are physically on the sand, they are distracted, the excitement. So sometimes you are speaking to them and they don't listen to you. So we want to encourage them to do that briefing at home, and also to ensure that if you can give them even some swimming lessons prior to going to the beach, that would also help. But we don't want to have the lifeguards to be having to save anybody. Yes, they are there to oversee, but prevention is always better than cure. So at least when it comes to beaches, that is one of the points that we want to ensure that parents be mindful of as safety, and also to follow the rules and the regulation on the beaches, because they have some flags that are often placed there. And if you don't know what they mean, you can engage the lifeguards on site and find out where you can swim, what are the safe areas and what are the areas that you should not venture to.
All right. I want you to tell us as well, we're speaking Easter holidays, and sometimes parents need to be reminded. What's that age that children can remain at home alone? Because that's another challenge that's faced. For those who are not at a camp, a parent tends to take the chance. Well, you're big enough.
You're big.
And you leave children at home, and sometimes it goes even further. You leave what you believe to be the bigger children at home, overseeing and looking at the younger ones, but they're all under the age.
Right. So in times gone by, we would have had some challenges as to legality as to children. However, we would have revised that law some time ago, and we now have children, a child defined as someone under the age of 18 years. So basically, what we are saying that children that are left under the age of 18 should not be left unsupervised. Now, we take it for granted, sometimes you're 16, 17, you leave them at home, they think they are responsible enough. But at the end of the day, the irony of that, if something happens, is a child that has to be accounted for. So we are advising persons not to leave children unsupervised at home, especially in instances sometimes we have, they might have a 14-year-old looking over a 7, 8-year-old. Those are two children. And who is responsible for who it really doesn't make any sense. And these are some of the challenges that we often find when we look at our Children Act, or we look at chapter 4601. And even in that section, when we look at section 4, we often, as relates to the prevention of cruelty to children, there are some serious offences that are carried there, and there are instances where parents, guardians leave children unattended, and unfortunately negative things happen to them. And this is something that we are trying to empower adults, guardians, parents to be aware of. So we often look at the kind of punitive measures, but we are responsible for protecting lives and serving the community. And I want to just touch on one of some of the areas. So like leaving a child unattended and something unfortunately happened to them, you can find yourself in a situation where you can be charged on a summary offences, and that will result in you paying $5,000 and imprisonment to 6 months. And if you go with the more serious or indictable, you can find yourself being fined $50,000 and 10 years in prison. I mean, how bad would it look for a mother, for example, to be sentenced to jail for 10 years because they were not paying attention? It may sound somewhat callous and aggressive, but these are the penalties for these sort of lack of attention and lack of due attention and inadequate supervision.
All right, so it's really that kind of admonition and reminder out there to parents, as comfortable as you may be and as responsible as the child may appear, it becomes a critical and a challenging situation, especially when something goes wrong.
And that is the thing.
Under the circumstances. So it may seem well the 4 or 5 other times, but that one time when something goes wrong, according, in our terminology, that's when you might hold your head.
Yes.
Yeah, and really start to wonder about the decisions that you have made. So that's a gentle reminder out there. Parents, in terms of that greater responsibility, very critical in the process. All right, the other area I want us to be able to get some updates on, the work of the TTPS. You come on here quite regularly as part of your outreach and media campaign. Tell us, where are we at currently, particularly for those who still have levels of discomfort with what's happening in Tobago, where are things going to? There was once a time where we didn't even have a murder. Criminal activity was certainly not something to worry about in Tobago. And we're going into what is a very hectic April season, the collective of the Easter season, as you've mentioned, the Easter weekend period, which is usually quite active, a number of visitors coming in and flowing straight on into jazz. So just give us some updates in relation to where we at in terms of the TTPS readiness for these upcoming areas.
All right, so as the Easter is approaching, we, as per usual, we will have our increased patrols, our presence will be felt. We are encouraging persons to observe speed limits because we know Easter, we have a lot of car shows. And this is a period a lot of people that tend to get excited on the roadway. So we have to observe our speed limit in Tobago on the highway. And our major roadways, 80 kilometers. And our secondary roadways, 50 kilometers. We will be out there doing our breathalyzer tests, checking persons that we have a number of parties and activities that will be taking place. We want to encourage persons, get a designated driver, because you don't want to find yourself behind prison gates, as we sometimes say, because you were drinking and driving, right? We'll be doing our patrols. I mean, we have a lot of tourists visiting. We have our TOPS unit out there interacting with the person, advising them. We'll be visiting our tourist sites, and we'll have a presence of, in particular, the TOPS. They focus more along the tourist sites and the beaches. So you'll be seeing those officers. You'll be seeing the general policing membership out there interacting. More or less, we want prevention, because prevention is better than cure. And at the end of the day, we want to be proactive in our approach. So we want to encourage the public to work with the police officers, as well as the police officers will work with the communities to ensure that Tobago remains safe during this period of time. We have a number of initiatives in place, which we will not just put out there because we have a kind of big stick approach in this country. Because the police out there, we will not do that. But at the end of the day, what we want is that persons need to abide by the law and be aware of what are the wrongs and rights in our society, so that we can have a situation where we could return Tobago, and by extension Trinidad, with Tobago 0 murders, 0 fatalities, and reduced crime.
Tell us about the current statistics as well in terms of your ability in terms of solving crimes. I know that's one of the things we hear very often at the national level,
yeah.
In terms of where we are. Tell us about the Tobago division in relation to our progress there.
Right. So currently we at our detection rate as compared to last year, it's a little lower. We now stand at 31%. Now, in what the positive of that, we have a lot less crimes than last year when compared. So the division is working as relates to reducing crimes. However, detection rate is down, and we are in the process of trying to engage community, because sometimes at the end of the day, in solving a crime, we need the community to sometimes give us the information. While we will be out there searching, doing our investigation, sometimes there may be witnesses to crime and they refuse to come forward, and it now makes this crime even more difficult and even unable to solve. So we want to encourage persons to share information. As I often say, if you see something, say something. So that is one of the ways that we can continue to maintain our crime. So generally, the Tobago division, we are doing relatively great thus far. It's not on a crime perspective, however, with our fatalities, that figure has somewhat jumped up, because last year I think we had a total of 3 road fatalities, and we are only beginning the 4th month in this year, and we already have 4. So we are encouraging persons to be very careful on the roadway, and the number one, 2 factors are contributing to fatalities: speed and drink or driving under influence. So we want to encourage persons, observe the speed limits, avoid drinking and driving, so that you can not only save a life, but also keep the statistics down. Because at the end of the day, road traffic accidents sometimes are very devastating for families, because it's like you just leave home and nobody shop to come back, and at the end of the day, some unfortunate news takes and it's a very, very traumatic experience for families.
All right. How do you reassure persons? You know, we're running out of time, but just very quickly, for the persons looking on out there saying, I want to inform, I want to provide the information, but I'm fearful for my life. Because I call and I provide it to Sergeant Joseph Jordan, and by in the morning, somebody's at my door threatening me because Sergeant might have mentioned it to somebody else who know the person under the circumstances, because Tobago is a very close-knit kind of space. What's your reassurance for persons in that regard as we prepare to wrap this morning?
All right, so we're going to point in 3 directions, right? The first one being, you must find a police officer that you can trust, all right? And why I'm saying that, yes, we all know we have our challenges with trust issues, but we cannot have an organization, and I would not say that we have an organization that you can't trust anyone. So you must find someone you can trust. The other options that we have the 555, which is very safe, and we have 800 tips. We can utilize these entities and report information. They are internationalist at an international level of security, and we have had a lot of success with those entities. So I am going to encourage persons to use them. If you don't feel comfortable speaking with someone, 800 tips, 555.
All right, excellent.
So in closing, I will also have one special request.
Yes.
I'm putting it out there. I just want to say good morning to the Team 98, Signal Hill Senior Comprehensive School. This year we are celebrating 25 years. And so I want to say a special good morning to my classmates and former student of Signal Hill.
All right. So shout out there to the past students out at Signal Hill, and I could see past students out there reacting very nicely. They're probably saying a nice one, Sergeant, for making sure you slip that in the mix. And I think that is also very important as well. And for me, what you speaks more broadly to the fact about that opportunity for the police to be integrated into communities and spaces where people are able to develop that greater level of trust. I see someone here saying on the live, morning, Joseph, only greatness in the family. That's the spirit that we want people to have when it comes to the TTPS. So there's that greater level of comfort. So we're looking forward to those building relations. We're looking for more Jordans and Cebros in terms of their attitude towards policing within the TTPS. So thank you so much for joining us on set here this morning. Viewers, those of you connecting with us via TV, listening in, and those of you online, this is your opportunity to share the live, share the live, share the live.
This is how it's gonna go. They better look up below, 'cause this is your show, and everybody's gonna know. Say it to them once again. They better look up below. This is your show, and everybody's gonna know. That's how it's gonna go. They better look up below, 'cause this is your show.
Everybody only worrying. Never ever worry. Don't mind how things looking hard. I tell them never ever worry. If your nice can't get damaged bad. I tell them never ever worry. What I'm saying is true. So just consider Tatil is always right here for you. I tell them never ever worry. Don't mind if life make you sad. I tell them never ever worry. If your house get flooded out real bad. I tell them never ever worry. What I'm saying is true. So just consider Tatil is always right here for you. I tell them never ever worry. If sickness catch you off guard. I tell them never ever worry. If times fall on you real hard. I tell them never ever worry. What I'm saying is true. So just consider Tatil will always be here for you. Never worry about a thing. Tatil, where people are people. You know what I mean.
Put a smile on your face when you're moving from place to place.
Good morning, viewers, and welcome back to the Tobago Updates morning show, coming to you here live from the Port Mall in Scarborough, Tobago. Yes, we're supposed to have online with us at this point one of our stars making that appearance here at the Tobago Jazz Festival 2023, coming up here later on in April. Recording artist Vonette Bigford. Good morning to you and welcome.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me this morning.
Yes, and how are you doing? How are you doing this morning?
I'm good, I can't complain too much, and if I complain, are you really listening?
Very, very interesting perspective there. So as we get the conversation started, for those who probably may not be as familiar, quick snapshot. Tell us, who is Vonette Bigford?
Oh gosh, that's a deep question this early
Where do
Monday
I start
morning.
this morning?
Yeah, but I'm a musician. I call myself a creative entrepreneur. I've been kind of trotting on and plying my craft in Trinidad and Tobago for the last almost 20 years. Yeah, and that's basically, generally, I think a few people know me. So for those who don't, I'm available on all the socials. But that's what I say. I'm just a Afro-Caribbean Trini musician, Trinbago musician, I should say. Yeah.
Very modest description there for your achievements in the mix. Tell us about you are set to appear on the Tobago Jazz Festival 2023 lineup. How do you feel about that this year in the mix, to be able to connect with your fans and supporters, those who certainly look forward to your music as continued inspiration?
Yeah, well, post-pandemic, I'm telling you, according to Voice, we out and bad post-pandemic. We're so happy to be able to be out plying our trade. So many festivals have opened back and things are back to normal, of course, inverted commas, because of course COVID is still around. But I am really excited at the prospect of being back on the Tobago stage. I was there in, was it 2019 or 2018? But I'm always very happy to be in Tobago. I tell people I have very deep roots in Tobago, so it's always like a sense of coming home for me as well too. So I'm very excited about it.
You're apparently known for is not just your voice that brings that comes to that stage to be able to engage and enhance, but also that style and fashion. Can we look forward to same in terms of your appearance this time around?
Listen to me. I just sleep in lipstick, I just sleep in that fashion. And it really, it was just by extension. It wasn't a deliberate thing, but I always tell people, especially younger artists, that people form an impression of you before you open your mouth. So the image, as much as it's not all, it's an extremely big part of this business, what you look like and how you present yourself. And I'm not saying that if you're a rock musician, you have to come in a suit, but I'm saying it has to be specific and of course fit in the context of what you do. But image is a really, really big part of entertainment. People are visual creatures. They like to see nice things. So that of course it extended into the brand where it's all about fashion is a big part of it as well. But image is really important. I like to really say that all the time, especially for the younger musicians.
And going beyond music just a bit, based on my research, you seem to also have that side that speaks to, current affairs and current issues. So, I'm going through your socials and I'm seeing you taking the time out there to motivate and encourage our C students. I'm seeing you involved in other initiatives. Tell us a little bit about Vonette Bigford beyond just music, in terms of really using that art form to connect, in terms of helping and supporting and motivating and encouraging others. How important is that to you?
That is, I tell people there's no separation of Vonette Bigford, the person, and Vonette Bigford, the artists. I'm a very honest artist, and I give people all of me because I think that that's genuinely what people want to see. They don't want an artist that's disconnected. They want to know that they're connected to you somewhat. I tell people, I think every single person on social media think that they're my personal friends. And it's because I make the effort. That outreach is really important to me. And apart from that, these are the people who buy tickets to come to my event. So I need to show them the utmost respect. I need to be part of their lives just as much as they're part of my life. So it's there's no disconnect between Vonette Bigford the artist and Vonette Bigford the human being, Vonette Bigford the mother, Vonette Bigford the wife, Vonette Bigford the female. You understand? So that's where you're gonna see that is one big amalgamation of who I am, and people really honestly receive it as it is. So yeah.
Tell us about the importance with that, and you touched on it there, in terms of that kind of support and family life. So people see the star, people see the artist, but there's also that critical component of support and still being able to function day to day, as you say, in terms of family life. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I tell people that I kind of have been blessed because I have a very supportive family. My husband, who is probably looking at me right now, my husband, who kind of stays in the background most of the time, kind of picks up the slack. And that's kind of really important for you as a creative to be able to be, knowing that there's someone in the back that picks up the slack, because of course I have a 9-year-old son. Apart from that, family, I come from a very huge Bigfords from Lekoto, Baileys from Lekoto, but I come from a very huge family unit, and we're all it's a very intrusive bunch, but a very loving, well-grounded bunch that provided a foundation for who I am as a human being. So I tell people, at no point in time in my career did I ever think that I would be plying my craft outside of Trinidad and Tobago. That's how important family is to me, because I always want to be in this space where they are. So I think it's really important to find that balance. Whoever you deem family, you don't necessarily have to be the family that you're born into, but it's very important to have a support system.
All right. So we're looking forward to you upcoming on the jazz stage, but we're also tapping in a little bit. What's in that future lineup, that big goal, something that you're working towards for Vonette Bigford, for those who continue to follow you step by step along the way in terms of your journey in this sector?
You know what I tell people, since COVID, I stopped planning too far ahead, because COVID did a number on me. So since COVID, I try to not plan, because I was always like a plan. I want to see what's going to happen in the next 6 months, what's going to happen in the next year. I have since realized this, COVID taught me that sometimes you just have to get up on one morning and say, thank God that I'm up, and plan for the day, because you don't even know if you have the day. But of course, I have my events that I try to curate, the VB experience, that those are the events that I do to cater for what I call my audience, a more mature audience, because I'm at that stage as well too. And possibly a recording. I have absolutely no pressure to do any recording. I tell people I do things on my own time and when I feel the timing is right. And if I have nothing to say right now, then that's exactly what I'm going to say. I'm not going to do something because people feel that it's time for it to be done. I operate on my own schedule, but that's about it. I want to remain happy, healthy, whole, alive. Those are the immediate plans, to be honest.
Excellent. So we look forward to having you on the big stage. How do people connect with you on the socials? Just give us that information very quickly.
Listen, I tell people social media is my job. I'm on Facebook. My name is very unique. It didn't have a next Vonette Bigford in the world. So Vonette Bigford on Facebook, Instagram. I try TikTok, but that's for young people. It just get me tired. And of course, on my website, www.vonettebigford.com. But I'm on the socials all the time. I tell people social media is where you can get me. I'm very available.
You have reactions coming in here. I suspect people love the very real realness in terms of coming from you. So as we look to wrap this morning's interview, any words you would want to share in closing that excitement for persons who are really looking forward to you on the jazz stage? I mean, feel free to add in a little vocals there if you want to as well. No pressure at all.
You know what? I think the cast is wonderful. I mean, I tell people I'm not aging myself when I say I'm real into Boys to Men. I'm not aging myself, but I don't hide my age either. I'll be 50 next year, so Boys to Men is like the soundtracks of my life too. You understand? But the cast is wonderful. I like Coffee, and then the addition of the local acts, Sharon, who's my girl, Tony and Terry. I think it's going to be a wonderful, wonderful evening. And I really want people to come out and support live music because that is what it's, we can't be on lockdown for 2 years. And when we get the opportunity to come out and support the music, and I'm pleading here with the Tobagonians as well too. My family, so many of my family members live in Tobago. I come from Tobago. Only come out and check all the thing, man. Come out and support so that we can have the festival going. There's sustainability in the festival because we want this to continue.
Thank you so much again. And as one of the viewers is saying on the live, Vonette Bigford is an amazing artist. Vonette Bigford is my girl, so gifted, so talented. So you know you've already started building up that excitement. Are we going to have to wait till the night or they're getting a little 15 seconds here to encourage them?
Boy, who does sing in the morning? You see the time is before 9 o'clock. If I sing here now, nobody can come in to see me on the 23rd. So I can't sing
they're going to just have to wait until that night. Thank you so much, Vonette Bigford, for joining us here this morning on the Tobago Updates morning show. And folks, if you weren't sure, you see the energy, you see the excitement. Clearly, being in this industry for her is not just a job. This is a life, really enjoying it. And thank you so much for bringing that energy here on the Tobago Updates morning show. Thank you indeed. And we look forward to seeing you on the jazz stage there. Yes, folks, it's the Jazz Festival taking place 2023. And this is the kind of excitement that you can certainly look forward to. I must say, after this interview, she has me and all excited beyond just what I would have naturally been expecting in terms of that upcoming performance and looking at the cast and the lineup. Viewers, we want to thank you so much, each and every one of you, for the continued love and support here on the Tobago Updates morning show. As well, we want to highlight just before we wrap this morning, courtesy Sergeant Joseph Jordan, a reminder to each and every one of you out there that there will be a Scarborough District Town Hall meeting taking place on Wednesday, the 5th of April, 2023, and that will be at 6 p.m. at the Fairfield Complex in Bacolet. So that's Scarborough District Town Hall meeting, Wednesday the 5th of April 2023 at 6 p.m. at Fairfield Complex Bacolet, and that's restoring trust, building and maintaining the partnerships. So they're certainly calling on all residents and environs to ensure that you come out. This is also a gentle reminder, Cindy's Beauty Salon and Fashion. Yes, the sale on products is on today. And that would be wedding accessories, makeups, eyelashes, wigs, weaves, braids, and much more. That's Cindy's Beauty Salon and Fashion. And we want to remind you that's located at lot number 1 Smithfield Plaza And that will be taking place today from 10 a.m. So remember to connect with them. Also want to take the opportunity to send a quick congratulations. Some photos are coming up from in the chat to the Scarborough Methodist Primary School past students of 1984 and 1985. They would have had the opportunity to do a group visit yesterday at the Scarborough Methodist Church, where they took the opportunity. Imagine being students at the primary school in that time and honoring your teachers, certainly for the commitment that they would have made years ago to groom them into who they are for today. Commendations to all these past teachers that would have certainly made their contribution to the continued growth and development of our society, and by God's grace, they are certainly still going strong. We want to say commendations to each and every one of you, and for taking the time out to recognize these achievements. Indeed, as they say far and wide, a teacher contributed to every success that you see on the stage and every success that you see presenting themselves in some way, form, or fashion. Viewers, we want to thank you so much for the continued love and support and for choosing the Tobago Updates morning show. I'm heading out from here in terms of the Tobago Updates morning show, but we want you to stay tuned. Yes, folks, you are correct, and we're seeing it already. We have coming up Watson Duke. I'm going to connect with him live in Trinidad. Assemblyman Watson Duke, political leader of the Progressive Democratic Patriots. And we look forward to those discussions coming up in our next segment, connecting here with GMT, with Candice. So stay tuned, folks. Stay tuned as we prepare to head on over to GMT. Bye-bye for now.
But before we get started, we're going to get into a little news in 90 seconds. The NIB office sent a notice saying that it is ready to serve the public of Tobago again. The doors will be open from 11 a.m. today at 5 Horn Building in Bacalat. The office was forced to close because it was undergoing necessary renovation work. This negatively impacted the ability of Tobagonians to access certain services. However, the work is now complete and services will resume. After Monday's reopening, the public can access its services during the regular hours from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. from Tuesday, 4th April. Meanwhile, political leader of the PDP, Watson Duke, called on Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley to pay attention to the vulnerable people in Trinidad and Tobago. In a video posted to social media, Duke said poverty and unemployment is on the rise in the country and not enough is being done to assist people in need. He noted that issues exist across the racial divide and all sectors deserve some attention. Duke believes that if the social needs of the people are not met, there will be a new mayor in Port of Spain. Duke is contesting the mayorship of the city in the upcoming local government elections. And finally, child activist and gender specialist Marcus Kissoon said the government places more prominence on licensing of homes than cultivating the culture of protecting children. He explained that even though licensing is a concern, the greater problem is how children are protected when they are in the system. Having worked on the Judith Jones investigation into the state of children's home in the country, Kissoon said it highlighted the systematic and cultural abuse
and violence suffered by these children at the hands of adults that occurred in homes designed to protect them. And that was the news in 90 seconds. And well, viewers, yes, it's my pleasure to tell you guys we are here at the PDP headquarters in Barataria in Trinidad, as we are getting ready for a conversation with the political leader of the PDP himself, Mr. Watson Duke. But before we get into that conversation, we are going for a quick break and we'll be right back.
Start to rise, the energy fill the skies.
Tobago, it's time to go. Sweet like
Tobago, here's the real deal. Nothing sweeter than when your internet fast all day, every day. I telling you, it's real nice when your home internet and TV package fit your budget. Well, if that's what you want, you're safe with Digicel Plus. Sign up or switch to Digicel Plus now and pay $0 for 1 month. Plus, plans start as low as $199 and you get installed for free. Visit digiceltt.com or a Digicel store now.
We live where you vacation. Come let we go, come let we go, come let we go to sweet Tobago. Come let we go, come till you know. Come find your soul in sweet Tobago. Come let we go, come let we go, come let we go to sweet Tobago. Come let we go.
MI4 Security Services Company is the most advanced security service in Tobago. Ask about our cash and transit service. It's safe, risk-free, reliable, and timely. We provide safe banking delivery for all business types and sizes with highly trained staff, 24/7 monitoring, coordinated emergency response, and a well-maintained fleet of armored vehicles. Contact us at 660-7723 or visit our website at www.mi4securitytt.com to sign up today.
It's a different type of thing down there. And we party till we drop down there. With a lot of pretty girls down there. Down in Tobago.
Yeah. Hey.
Tobago updates. Good morning, Tobago.
Welcome back to Good Morning Tobago on Tobago Updates. And yes, viewers, I know that you are very much anticipating this interview that we are having here this morning. And we are here at the PDP headquarters in Barataria in Trinidad. And we have sitting right next to me, Mr. Watson Duke, the political leader of the PDP, as well as the assemblyman for Roxborough Argyle. Good morning and welcome to you, sir. How are you doing?
Good morning, Candice, and good morning to Tobago from Trinidad. Yeah.
Yes.
It's nice being here.
And you are quite a busy man. We've been seeing your walkabout.
Yes, indeed.
That's going on in Port of Spain. Because if you don't know by now, Mr. Duke is going to be running for mayor of Port of Spain. Well, he's putting himself forward for mayor of Port of Spain. So I want to start off with that.
Yeah.
Why Port of Spain?
Strategically, Port of Spain is the capital of Trinidad and Tobago. Sometimes, as a Tobagonian, we get confused with the capital. We put Scarborough. But the capital of Trinidad and Tobago is Port of Spain. Port of Spain is also the political capital of the country, the commercial capital of the country, and the administrative capital of the country. Port of Spain is where it's at. And if you want to make a dent on the politics of our country, it's best that you represent yourself in the capital as looking after the people within the capital. That's about almost 40,000 persons within Port of Spain. And I think from a strategic point of view, politically, it's the best move as I make my journey towards becoming Prime Minister of this country, because that's the ultimate goal.
How does becoming mayor of Port of Spain benefit Tobago?
Well, again, it's the capital of the entire country. And if one governs the capital, then a lot of issues that affects all of the country becomes a talking point. And so therefore, you are better positioned to speak to issues on a national level from Port of Spain than from Tobago. When you speak from Tobago, it can come across as almost tribal, as almost just for that particular area. But whenever you speak from Port of Spain, even if you're speaking about Tobago, it takes on a more national face, and so the issues will be sorted out. Also, where we have hundreds of persons traversing that busy road from the port into Port of Spain, falls under the control of the mayor. And the mayor could make strong representation, because there are heads of government meetings, etc., once a month, to have a walkover bill there. And you can make representation for Tobago people in the marketplace in Port of Spain. Every day they're coming to Port of Spain, and you can create that type of discussions in public domain from the position of the mayor. If you are the chief secretary, they will not listen to you nationally. They listen to you internally in Tobago. But we need a national voice if we are to address many of the issues that are plaguing us. So I say, if not the Prime Minister, you settle for the mayor for now, and you could begin to give issues in Tobago a national perspective.
Now, one of those issues also has to deal with autonomy.
Yes.
And, one of your roles, while you were in that short stint as Deputy Chief Secretary, was to sort of further that advocacy for autonomy. Do you see any place for that happening if you are to be Mayor of Port of Spain?
Yes, indeed. Indeed, Tobago's autonomy, or Tobago's right to govern itself in a real way, should be a topic of discussion, but not just for Tobago, because that will be me playing into the hands of the tribalism. We have to now say local government on a whole must represent autonomy for all of the corporations. So in Trinidad, there are 14 corporations, and the point of view as the mayor of Port of Spain, who is the head mayor, the mayor of Port of Spain receives more pay than any other mayor in the country, and he's well positioned beyond the other chairman or CEO or chairman and mayors within the corporations. So he is almost the leader of thought and ambition for the others. So we will want to see the local government becomes more real and not just the plaything that they have created it to be. Local government in Trinidad must represent health, must represent education, must represent fires, police, every single thing that moves within the ambit of the governance must be represented by the local government. And so likewise, we are saying the same thing ought to be done for Tobago. Tobago, however, have moved a step further. Tobago has some 33 areas for which it is responsible. However, Tobago cannot make laws, and that's where Tobago is weak. The Port of Spain City Corporation can make laws, or what we call bylaws. When you sit in your executive council and you make decisions or you create a bylaw, that bylaw then goes straight to the president, and that's it. The president signs off on it, and that's it. In Tobago, to make an assembly law, it's a ridiculous, tedious, and onerous process. You have to first debate a bill. The bill then goes to the cabinet. Cabinet then says whether they like the bill or not, and then cabinet then commence the process on your behalf. So it goes through a white paper, white paper, back and forth. And then it goes to the lower house, then the upper house, and then if it's passed, they then send it to the president to give proclamation to it. So it's really ridiculous to see you have more opportunities in Tobago to govern, but less opportunity to make rules. So you're governing without the rules that you make. You have to look to Trinidad to create those rules. So in my position as the mayor, I would want to ensure that we have more autonomy within the local government. And Tobago is a form of local government.
Yes, it is.
It is just called Tobago House of Assembly by that name. But it is a form of local government. The central government is the government of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago.
Now, Port of Spain has traditionally been very much into the PNM, leaning towards the PNM.
Yes.
And you are just one of many that are trying to change that. Why do you think that you have what it takes to change that political dynamic?
Well, a lot of the youths in Port of Spain would have grown up seeing me and hearing about Watson Duke, because I worked in Port of Spain for almost 13 years as the president of the largest trade union, which is 80,000 persons representing the monthly paid workers, as also the president of a national trade union center, which represents all trade unions in the country at the International Labour Organizations meeting, etc. So most of those parents or their cousins, one way or the other, would have had some connection with me, either representing them from a collective sense or individually. And beside that, I have been traversing Port of Spain for like about 7 years now, up and down the hills and the valley, meeting the people, seeing their needs. And so when I present myself right now, it's not as a newbie, but as one who has proven himself to be for the people. All right, and so Port of Spain is in dire need of that. Port of Spain is looking for a hero. Port of Spain is looking for a voice. Port of Spain is looking for a man who can fix it, looking for someone who stay roots. I've always stayed roots. When they see me, they see themselves.
Yes.
When they see me, they see themselves. They hear themselves. I don't pretend to speak perfect English, I just speak English. Broken or not, I just speak English. So they're comfortable with me. And the proof of the pudding is always in the eating. When I walk through Port of Spain, the ground rises with me. The crown comes with me. It has never been seen anywhere. I'm not a politician in Port of Spain, but there's a lot of hope. And that's what makes me different. Politicians are dealers of hope. If there is no hope, then as a politician, you are hopeless. The PNM, they are saying they are sick of those stories. Sick of those stories. Now, fundamentally, the PNM from 1956 has never lost Port of Spain.
Yes.
They've never lost Port of Spain. And that's because PNM was the only party. The other party would have always been represented, but they were always a default party. And so the UNC running into Port of Spain is a waste of resources, a waste of time. They are just doing it to say they are doing it. But really and truly, Port of Spain will never go UNC. Even though in 2010, they would have gotten about 4 seats out of the 12 seats. That's the coalition, but it was not the UNC. It was the People's Partnership, where COP got 3 seats, UNC got 1. And it shows that people are likely to change if they believe there is hope. When the coalition came in, there was great hope. There was buoyancy. People believe like something is going to happen big, and they wanted to be part of that change. They wanted to see it and experience it in their lifetime. However, no sooner than they came in, bow, all lights went out, and it was darkness again, hopelessness. Very much like what's happening in Tobago, right? But we'll get to that.
Yeah,
we have time.
Yes.
We have time. And so the fact that they made those inroads, it's a testimony to me that Port of Spain is not impenetrable. Port of Spain people are not PNM for life. They desire change. And so I bring with me echoes of that change. I've been a change agent. I entered PSA when no one felt that they could have taken the PSA from those who had controlled it. It was under the political thing of PNM, under the face of Jennifer Batiste, but under PNM. I took it. I took it some years ago. Then no one felt like I could have taken Tobago. It was under PNM for 20-something years. They mock, they laugh, but we have taken it. And so now I've come to Trinidad. I'm saying we come for Port of Spain in particular. While we're interested in all other areas, we need Port of Spain. It represents the heartbeat of the PNM. We need to stop the heart of the PNM.
Now, Mr. Duke, you know, your part into politics has not been without its blemishes. And, you know, we had one of the community members in Port of Spain saying that you can't be mayor of Port of Spain. You know, how do you treat with some of that sentiment coming from some of those people that see the controversies and see that as somebody that see that as a negative on your record and a reason why they may not be able to trust you?
Well, I say the greatest stories in life, the greatest movies or autobiographies are those where people would have suffered and they were almost defeated, but for hope, they came back alive. And so Watson Duke and the PDP represents hope. Hence, we have a flaming bullifay in 3 hands. It takes more than one person to hope. There must be one hand But as you hope, other persons will buy into that hope. And I could say to you, people are buying into the hope that the PDP brings. We are putting people before politics. We are putting people first. If we can't put people first, we have no business in politics. We say if we put people first, everything takes care of itself. It's time that the ordinary people be placed first and be made a top priority for Port of Spain.
But Mr. Duke, you also, claim that the PDP is your party. You are the founder and owner.
Of course I am.
Of the party. And this was one of the reasons why some people within the PDP fell out of favor and they left. So how are you building back that trust or that faith so that people can gravitate to you and support your cause or support your political journey?
They were drawn away by their own lust for power. It was not anything to do with trust. It had to do with a lust for power and a certain swell-mindedness. The victory was too sudden for them. It was too complete, and they began to have all these ego tripping. And so they are now left to their own devices. I wish them well in their future's endeavor. But let me hasten to say this. What I have done in the PSA and in THA in my public life cannot be replicated. It cannot be duplicated, but it can be fabricated. People will try to fabricate it, but it cannot be replicated. It cannot be an exact. It can't be that. So what they are trying to do is to be like a duke. They want to create a party. They want to go independent first. It's the same script, but lame actors. I say again, it is the same script that I've used, but it's their lame actors. So I started as an independent in Tobago, and I morphed into my own party. I created my own party, by the people, of the people, for the people. They are now trying to go independent. And then they're saying they want to go into a party. But they're lame actors. I think Tobago would reject them. If I could just say a little bit on that, not to switch too much, but you can move back and forth. It's difficult for anybody in this country, Trinidad and Tobago, to form a party and win. Extremely difficult or impossible. You have to become a brand. The person must have a larger than life personality, and I don't see that by any accident. You have to be larger than life. So let's go with Dr. Eric Williams. When he came back, there were few persons with a doctorate, and he went on a scholarship. When he came back, he was a larger than life figure. He made himself one with the people, roll up his sleeve, go to Woodford Square, and obviously people would be barefoot at that time. Not much stuff, darkness around the place, etc. And so he coming from a first world country back here was a beacon of hope. He created hope among the people, and he led the way. They literally followed him. But what happened when he died in the early 80s, 81, around when he died, and George Chambers took over, he lost immediately after, because the visionary was removed from the vision. So there was a period of darkness. If we were to go also with A&R Robinson, he formed the DSC. He was a larger than life figure. When he came to Tobago, he didn't just come like that. He came as a man who was Deputy Prime Minister, Finance Prime Minister, an educated man. He brought something that wasn't popular, and people gravitated to him. But after he came out of the political realm, competitive politics, what happened? Hocher Charles couldn't win an election. That was the end of it. So it happens like that. And I'm saying to you, those who are trying to form something, I am the larger than life figure, not them. They came in on my bigness, my name, my brand, Spartan, fighters. Tobago needed a fighter. And we projected ourselves as fighter, walking how many miles from Roxport to Scarborough, swimming, doing things, battling for Tobago. We did that, but they are just jellyfish. A bunch of weaklings who feel that they are academically strong, but they're weak. In a day where everyone has degrees, they are weak academically.
Now, Mr. Duke, so I want to know a little bit more about, just the construct of the party itself in terms of, the democracy and that sort of thing, because, you know, we are people that we love democracy within our country.
Yes.
And your party, however, is very much branded by you.
Of course.
The owner and founder of the
That's
PDP.
right.
So is there room for democracy? How does democracy work within that sort of construct?
Well, democracy is always something that can be different in the minds of those who speak of democracy. Democracy does not mean doing what you want, because there are still rules in our society. In every society that preaches democracy, there are still rules one must follow. So there are rules within the party that one must follow, and if you go against the rules, then there's a way to deal with that. But there's democracy in the party in that we allow for anybody to become. Yeah?
Even political leader?
Of course. I was political leader, but I've allowed Farley to become the Deputy Chief Secretary. And that didn't happen on the day that we brought the votes in. It happened way before that, in 2019. The mission was, as we had a big meeting, I told the people that I'm going to go to Trinidad and fight.
Yes.
And Farley is going to remain in Tobago and become Chief Secretary. And I supervised that process to ensure he become Chief Secretary. I supervised that. And I was the one to move the motion that he become Chief Secretary. And I took a very minuscule position as Deputy Chief Secretary. And I've allowed him. Even when he behaved rude and swell-headed, I stepped back. I didn't stay and fight him. I simply said, let me resign. So he will control all of the executive, and he will be able to lead based on the vision that the people gave to him at the polls, the mandate. When I did that, you see what happened. He became a blind man. He felt that wasn't enough. He wanted to form his own party. Right?
Yes.
And you're going to do that sometime, maybe tomorrow. I never at one point in time charged Farley or tried to reprimand him. He was doing a lot of wrong things for a long time. But I never tried to bring it to the public domain and insult him, etc. Right? So we are a decent party. We are a democratic party. We allow for persons to compete. I cannot win an election by myself. I can lead people to victory, but I cannot win an election. I cannot be a government by myself. I could be the head of a government or the head of an executive, but I cannot govern by myself. You need people, you need consultation. The spirit of democracy is rooted in good governance. We talk in transparency. If persons are given the same information I have, would they make the same decision? We're talking about participatory democracy, where persons participate in the decision-making process. Yeah. So in my area of Roxborough, I have these tri-monthly meetings, I would say, or quarterly meetings, where we meet with the public. Anyone will come, and we discuss issues of nature for the people within the electoral district. And we make decisions. We eat, we laugh, we bond. I'm accessible, right? People call me, I respond, I text back, as the case may be. So there is democracy, there is openness, there is transparency, there is participation in my party. They wanted to leave and I leave. You observe that I've not commented on what they are doing, except within the house. And that's because I am not the opposition. So the PNM, who is the opposition, they ought to oppose him. They say, what's the fight for? I say, well, yeah, time and place for that, right? Fall is my student. However, he never took the lesson. He's a failed student. But he's my student nonetheless. And I cannot try to destroy him. I must try to educate him and perhaps exhort him, but not to destroy him. He came from the bowels of the PDP, and that's history. That cannot be changed, you know? But the PNM has to do their work in keeping him honest, keeping him going. When I go to the house to represent my constituency and the people of Tobago, then I will speak on those issues within the confines of the house. But I'm in no street brawl with these people.
No, I mean, as you brought that up, then we have to also deal with the fact that, you know, the THA is different, as a different body from being in the mayorship, being in the local government here in Trinidad.
Very little difference.
Okay, so how are you going to be able, or what is going to happen to your position as Assemblyman for Roxborough Argyle as you are putting yourself forward for mayorship of Port of Spain? Are you going to be able to hold on to both? And then how do you represent both sets of people equally and sufficiently?
Well, there is a graduation exercise that must take place, and I know the people of Tobago would have seen something of that nature already. When I became the Deputy Chief Secretary, I gave up my position as the President of the PSC and all the level of representation that was along those lines. I gave it up. I resigned from my position. I even resigned from my job at WASA. That's something that my wife would have to see and okay, because it's an upward movement, all right, an upward movement. And I became the Deputy Chief Secretary. When I resigned from the Deputy Chief Secretary, that was also a demotion in a sense. Insofar as pay and virtually paid nothing right now, but I enjoyed my job nonetheless. And so we have another graduation exercise coming up again. That's for the mayorship of Port of Spain. When that time comes and I am appointed, and first of all, my party wins the 12 seats, and the day comes, I would have to resign my position as an assemblyman for Argyle Roxborough to be graduated into that school.
So you are not going to resign until...
Of course, until we have won all the seats, I'm not going to resign.
All right, and then in terms of being able to represent the people of Tobago in Roxborough, Argyle Roxborough, how are you able to keep that mandate? How are you able to keep those promises that were made on the campaign trail and make sure that the people are satisfied with your representation?
Well, once we're talking mandate, a mandate is really the responsibility of the executive. Whosoever executive comes in place, the mandate that they offer is really their responsibility to fulfill. So from the moment I delinked myself from the executive, it was no longer my mandate per se, but to hold those who are inside the executive accountable. And I did that religiously on a Monday, what we call, we say, I forget what we used to call it, right? But this is Monday evaluation, right? And I would
Mandate Monday.
Yeah, Mandate Mondays, right? Mandate Monday. And we would bring them to task. We say, look, this is what you promised the people, and this is what you are not doing. And when they got fed up of hearing the mandate and they didn't want to keep it, they all resigned and said, look, we are independents. We have no attachment to no mandate. It is God, every man for himself, and God for us all. We don't care about no mandate. We don't care about nothing. We are independent. And now they are going one step further, saying that we are a party. But what is the mandate that was given to that party? There was no mandate given to that party. They are committing fraud. They are simply taking the people of Tobago for imps, for fools. And I hope the people of Tobago would rise up. And I hope also the PNM will do their job, because they have not been doing their job as a opposition, minority council, opposition. They have been playing games with Farley.
Now, there recently was a meeting that was held in Roxborough where, a committee meeting where the chief secretary was there and members of the executive were there.
Yeah.
You were also present.
I was present,
but you did not. You did not make any sort of presentation at that meeting.
No.
Why did you not make that presentation, and what were your views on the proceedings?
I think the people of my constituency, Dallaford, Roxborough, Argyle, I must include Dallaford in it, I think they represented the issues quite well. They were forced to reckon with. They didn't compromise on saying what the issues were. I think the executive, led by Farley at that time, were in shock. They were somewhat disappointed because they got no human praise, no worship, but they were scrubbed, and they were scrubbed bitterly. I couldn't add anything because I simply represent them. But on that day, they took representation to a personal level where they did it on their own. And to me, that's the level of democracy I allow for in my constituency. Let the people speak. Let them give their views out. Yeah? So I commend that, and I didn't say anything because, again, I'm not fighting Farley Augustine. I'm fighting bad governance. I'm fighting totalitarian rule where what I say goes. I'm fighting that. But I want to see is a government that benefits the people, a governance that says to the people, you are entitled to that. Here is this. People going to social services asking for help and they can't get a food basket in Tobago. People are getting their food card taken away from them and they need the food card. People can't even get wheelchairs. People still have to line up for long hours and wait to get a doctor in Scarborough. Yeah. It's totally mad. They have not built one single house and they've been there for a year, spending millions of dollars on the settlements. Yeah? When you ask the kind of money that's spent in works, it is bad spending. When one consider that in Tobago, central government gives $18 million per year for URP/CPEP, and that's for a year. And we have works spending $19 million to build 2 bridges, right, in Scarborough. One asks themselves, who benefited from that? Where did the money go? Did it remain in Tobago or did it went back in Trinidad? The money went back in Trinidad. That's poor governance. If you want to boost the economy, then you have to have a lot of domestic consumption. The money has to be spent in Tobago. So when the money is spent in Tobago, it remains in Tobago. It is banked there. And so everyone will see an improvement in their lives. A rising tide lifts all boats. However, we have seen these secretaries' life has improved tremendously. Tremendously. But the lives of the ordinary man has not been improved. It has regressed. It has gone back so much so that people has lost hope. And that's the test of a politician.
Yes.
Fowler is not creating hope, but instead he's breeding distrust and despair.
Now, while you were in the executive council and some of these decisions were being made because the construction of those roads and so on, that was talked about during that time while you were still there. What was it like? What were your objections, and how did that all play out?
Well, let me say to you this. Executive meetings are confidential meetings, so I wouldn't say, well, this is what happened, that what happened. But let me say this, that the executive meetings are farce, meaning they are fake. They're not real executive meetings. An executive meeting ought to be a meeting of decision making. When you go to an executive meeting, there, you spend 90% of the time renewing people on person's contract. This person's contract, should we renew it or not? Any problems, anybody? And that's what they do, right? Sending persons on trip. That's what it was, executive meeting. There is no discussion of a list of policies we want to create or put in place for Tobago. Or let's try and enact an assembly law to see how this thing go. They don't do that. It's really little boys and little children talking there really. And it's gip, lunchtime, all right. And Farley being a school teacher, oh, look at take all a break now. That's the kind of madness. I mean, it was very nauseating. So I must say I would miss a couple of those executive meetings because I did not want to be a part of something and be a part of it. I don't want to be one with something and be disjointed from it. So most of the time, in fact, all of the time while I was deputy chief, I kept silent. I kept silent. I said nothing, no word, no press conference. I kept silent. I did not even spoke in the house while I was deputy chief secretary. I did not. I did not at all. Even when they had a budget review, I did not say one single word. I was suffering, pain, to see how they would govern and they would lean on their own understanding as if it is a Cub Scout. They lack the intelligence that is required to govern a country. Now, if you lack it, is one thing. You could lean upon those who have it, but they're leaning upon some failures.
Now, Mr. Duke, did you know this before? Did you know this before when you were pulling the team together?
No.
When did you know that they were not good enough?
Well, let me ask you a trick question, right? You're a female, right? People never know everything about a female. A man will never know everything about a female. You just marry that woman and you will understand how strong that woman's voice is. Don't leave your shoes there. But when you're liming, okay, I'll move it for you, honey. Don't leave your shoes there, man asks you cook. You have a slave here or what? Because you're inside now. There's a difference between a work on contract and that worker being made permanent. From the time that worker become permanent, it's a different attitude. Once persons feel settled within themselves, they then begin to show their real selves. And that's the problem is, I never made them uncomfortable. They became comfortable too quick. This is why all of this beautiful talk about Tobago actually standing up for Tobagonians fall on the wayside. They were not about that. They were about an office. They were about someone calling them Sir Secretary, and everything fell down. Every single thing fell down. When one looked at Terence Baines, who was to be a pastor, a man leading the flock, he would make a calypso on his political leader, right? And to me, speaking things that are untruth. He can be a pastor. He's a plaster. That's who he is. And so people begin to betray what they stood for all the time. I can say, Candace, and Tobago can honestly say, I have been consistent. I promised Tobago 2 things. I've stuck to that. 1, in 2019 at Magdalena, at our open forum for everyone.
Yes.
I said, I am supporting Farley for Chief Secretary, and I'm going to Trinidad to fight. Indeed, I did support Farley as Chief Secretary. When we did not agree, I didn't stay and fight him. I moved away so he can continue as Chief Secretary. He's going to form some clown thing called party tomorrow, and I'm allowing him because as a young man, as a child, he will learn that the difficulty of winning people and sustaining hope in people is a difficult task. It's no easy task. He will learn. So I've never disturbed that. I don't speak negatively about him unless like I'm speaking now or in the house, but I don't consider myself with him. I consider myself with Trinidad and Tobago as one because we have to fix the whole thing. And I have come to Trinidad where I started all over again to fight again. And that's what I'm doing, fighting for my people in Trinidad and Tobago. I'm a fighter. I'm the best fighter there is today in Trinidad and Tobago. There is none better than me. All right, I've always gone into where it was impossible, where defeat was imminent, and I've took victory out of the jaws of defeat. In the PSA, no one could have taken the PSA. I've run the PSA for almost 13 years, and no one came close to beat me. I took the THA from the PNM. No one could have taken the THA. You know, if I had removed my face from that, and if I have not gone out and told a person, Farley is a great man, Farley is a good man, Farley would not have won. That's for certain.
So how do you ensure now that going ahead as you're seeking mayorship of Port of Spain, how do you ensure that the people that you get on your team are not going to betray you like you say the people in Tobago did?
But not the people in Tobago, let's quantify Tobago. Farley did. Farley did, not the people of Tobago. The people of Tobago are still honest people, and they're forthright people, they're straightforward people, and they still desire good governance. However, in Trinidad, I am leading the team now. And whenever I lead something, I lead it properly. As when I was in the PSA, the boat could rock, people could say this, could say that, but I've never ever stopped fighting for the PSA members. I've fought for them, I've gotten more for them. I did my best. Even before I left in 2020, 2021, I would have signed off an agreement with the National Insurance Board for 9% for 3 years. I've read somewhere where the OWT got 10% for 6 years. I commend them. But I want to say to them, I got 9% for 3 years before I come over to the THA fully. So I signed that off. And all of the other workers were supposed to get that. But the finance minister said, oh, he's not paying that because he'll bust the treasury. I said, look, I don't hear that old talk. You know, I deal with them straight. So I've been a performer, I've been a fighter, and anybody who comes under my charge as mayor, they will have to understand that this is the way we are going and that's the way we are going straight. But it will always be in consultation with the people. There is no room for star boys under my mayorship, you know. There is no room for that. There is room for leadership by example.
How are you going to rebuild the PDP in Tobago?
I don't know if the PDP is destroyed, you know. I think that I'm giving Farley Augustine some time to show who he is. You know, you have to allow him to show to Tobagonians who he is, and that must be done unhindered. If I'm to speak about him every day, that will frustrate him. And he will say, well, he can't think, because every day watching down a truth. So I've stepped aside and I've allowed him and all the imps he has around him, because there are definitely some imps around him. Yeah, I won't even say any name because they're just too much. Some of these imps who love to come on media and talk and instead of foolishness that they don't know. Right? I've allowed them to deliver their best for Tobago. Tobago's looking on, but I'm watching. I'm going to say to you that when I move out of my constituency, a next PDP candidate will replace that. And when the THA elections are called, hopefully they'll be called this year also, we'll be contesting all 15 seats.
Why do you think that the elections will be called this year?
Because there's no way right-thinking Tobagonians, based on how I know them, will sit down and allow Farley and his team, the Jellyfish crew, to continue to play that type of games. What he's doing here is unprecedented, you know. It's totally new. They are trying to experiment with the lives of Tobagonians. They are using Tobagonians as lab rats. They are trying experiments. Who independents have governed Tobago? And when they governed Tobago for, well, the larger part of a year, nothing came out of it. Nothing good came out of it. And then they move from that now to say they're forming a party. Who gave this party a mandate? The elections office, returning officer for elections, would have already returned and said the PDP won the election, and the UNC, and the PNM, which is just like the UNC anyway, the PNM lost the elections. It was 14-1. Yeah, PDP 14, PNM 1. That can't change. So whatever Farley is doing, it's really smoke and mirrors. He can't change that. That goes down on the resume of Watson Duke and the PDP. He's trying to create a name for himself. And I'm saying Tobago will not allow him to play fast and loose with their lives while Ma and Pa still suffer.
Now, I mean, based on what you said, do you think that there will be any success at all coming out of the launch of that new political party tomorrow?
No, if I had my phone here, I will show you where someone messaged me and told me that a particular one of the independents is calling them and asking them to gather some people. They're going to send a free maxi and they're going to provide them with food and juice to come down to the launch tomorrow. They are scraping for people. You were there at the Hyatt when we had the launch of Trinidad and the Marish and Parish team, everybody came. We never charged a cent and there was no high chair or low chair. Sit where you want to sit. That's the kind of governance we have, democracy. You didn't have to have an invite, just come. One vagrant from Port of Spain who identified himself as such the next day. He came and his jersey one is in his bag with the paraphernalia. And he said, look, this is the first time I have come to the Hyatt. Many persons was their first time. Also, when we did the same thing in Magdalena, many persons said it's the first time I've been to Magdalena. I've never been to Magdalena before. And the way you treat me is the way I always wanted to be treated. We believe in putting citizens on a pedestal. Farley is different. He believes in charging citizens. He's saying to them, if you want to come, pay $3.25 for a jersey. A jersey so expensive? Is that a Nike jersey or is that Yeezy shoes or something? That's not Yeezy shoes. What is that? $3.25? He grew up under me. He saw we would have opened ourselves to the public. We fed them for free. The public never had to pay for nothing, not a jersey, nothing. It's free. He's saying, pay to be a part of this. Now they're begging people to come down. We go feed you, we go clothe you, we go give you a car. They already fear. I don't expect anyone to come out there except the few workers who would have on contract who they're frightening because they've taken a lot of techniques from the PNM, a lot of those scare techniques and threatening from the PNM, and say, if you don't come, you lost your work. I expect to see a lot of CPEP workers there, URP workers there, and the likes.
I mean, you made some interesting claims there in terms of, you know, some of the behaviors that you spoke about during the PNM's reign that still exists.
Yes.
Like, could you share some more details?
Well, people are still longing for the PDP. What we promised was to fix things in Tobago. So, for example, we promised the people an ex gratia payment, all right? And as a payment just because you suffer so long. I explained it to them. Just because we have, Farley has been promising people the ex gratia payment, and up to now we can, every month is next month. That's a PNM trick, where you deceive the people, all right?
Was there a way for that ex gratia payment to be paid? Did you see a way? Did you present a plan?
Of course.
And what was the plan?
You could have simply taken the carnival money at the waist to play carnival in mud. I mean, it wasn't mud mass. It was really carnival. It should have been more than mud. And use that money to pay people. If you paid persons with that money, you would have, every person within the service, which is about 13,000, would have gotten more than $1,000. All right? More than $1,000. So he's playing fast and loose with that. We also promised the people to give them a community fund of $10 million per year. So that's 15 districts, that'll be 150 million. That money should have come from the development budget, which is about $300 million. So you take 150, and there will be development now within the community where there'll be a stir of employment against the unemployed. That was supposed to be done. Fali came to the house, and he's telling us in the house he wants to give to Tobagonian every district $150,000. $150,000, you know, which is about $14,000 a month to spend. That was mad. And then he jumped on a plane, says he's going to Jamaica to see how their fund is going. That was a waste of trip and a waste of paper, say, signing memorandum of agreement. That's again a P&M trick. The P&M was big on presentation, but poor on a representation. The PDP, we were supposed to put back the rep into representation, right? Rep into presentation. We were supposed to re-present things in a way that synergizes, if I was to use a word like synergizes, or that forms a synergy with the thinking of the people. But he's not doing that. He's not doing that. Tobago was supposed to ensure that the contractors in Tobago are paid, and we breed a new level of contractors. So whenever there's a big contract, at least 50 to 40% or 40 to 50% of that money stays in Tobago. Let's take the two bridges that they built in Scarborough. That was $19 million. It meant that at least about $9 million of that money should have stayed in Tobago, literally stayed. So that money should have walked up into Sansa Hill, walked up into Cutler Hall, walked down into Crown Point, walked around the area. People's lives should have been enhanced. But the money came in and it went out. And Fali is saying to people now that they are trusting work to pay later on. When you do that, you are putting future generations under pressure. You need to spend what you have. You can't spend what you don't have. Everyone knows that. What kind of an easy loan you take in there? You are therefore compromising yourself based on those persons who are giving you a loan, not based on those persons who can do a job and who can benefit the economy. As the Prime Minister said, and I repeat, he said all of the development budget, some $300 million, right, that was given to Tobago before the money reached was sent back into Trinidad with Trinidad contractors. And I'm saying it's madness. We never supported that. We said, bring the Trinidad contractors in, bring the foreign contractors in, but put them to work along your local contractors. Let us have institutional strengthening. And I want the same thing for Port of Spain. Right now, there's some major projects taking place in Port of Spain. And from the moment I become mayor, I govern the whole thing. I govern it. And I'm telling them, it's going to be business unusual. Because I'm going to ensure that all of the work in Port of Spain involves persons from Port of Spain and beyond. There is no way you could come into my town and not employ people of a large nature. To employ no 2 and 3, I don't want no 2 and 3 people. I'm telling you, I'm putting it to you. Because all of those things must be passed by the city.
Yes.
And we have to build a city. You must build a city by creating employment. You must build a city with opportunities. That's why persons want to come to the city. But I say this to you, Candace. In 2000, the population of Port of Spain was about 40,000. In 2010, it dropped down. 4,000 persons left the city. Right? People are leaving Port of Spain. Businesses are leaving Port of Spain because of crime. Just Friday, I was walking Charlotte Street, and I paused at a corner, and I heard a woman bawl out, "Oh God!" So in shock, I look around, and it was a woman and her daughter, and she just holding the neck as this. And I saw a young fella in a vest just running. And when I looked, I said, my God, people are trying to make it here by affecting other people who are trying to make it. The poor is stealing from the poor. My mother always told me, when dog eat dog is a bad situation. So right now, dog eating dog in Port of Spain right now. The poor is robbing from the poor. so they could get something to eat. And I face it every day. Port of Spain ought not to be like that. People in Port of Spain ought to be able to change jobs. Because when you come into Port of Spain, which is the administrative capital, the commercial capital, then we have to reflect that. The business people need support, and I'm going to support the business people in every single way as a mayor. And the residents need support, I'm going to support the residents. I'm going to be a mayor on the ground, a jeans and jersey mayor. Yeah?
Now, you have made some connections, international connections with your travels and so on.
Yeah.
How will that help in building Port of Spain?
Well, there are many persons who want to donate grants. They will give grants to local government to boost them. We have to find some of these grants. We must go to New York City and talk to the mayor there. We must go to Paris. We must go to all of these places that needs to go to. China, Taiwan, wherever. We must go to these places and we must talk and say, look, we are developing an economy. How can you impact that economy in a way that the economy grows, in a way that people feel safe, in a way that people feel catered for and catered to? So that's the conversation we've started. And I could see room for every single nationality who's already represented in Port of Spain, for the Syrians community, for they to impact upon Port of Spain, for the Chinese community to impact Port of Spain, for the African community, for the Indian community, and the mixed population also to impact Port of Spain. I feel that also the various religious fraternities ought to play a role also in stabilizing the morality of Port of Spain. I feel we need to extend the meeting of the burgesses to not just the business people, but also even the small business. The small and medium-sized business ought to be part of that. And so we will need to have that meeting on a monthly basis where we have a definite plan as to where we are and where we want to be at the end of a year, and we break it up into every 3 months. So every 3 months we have this large meeting where we cater for these people to come and have a day discussing Port of Spain.
Similar to Roxborough.
Yeah. Even gangsters also should be part of that meeting too.
And
yeah?
Well, okay.
I'm saying, no, even the gangsters,
Yes.
and I use the word gangsters very loosely because when I traverse Port of Spain, I don't see gangsters. I see people who are simply trying to find work for their colleagues.
How are you going to turn that around in terms of the crime and just those social ills that are happening right now in Port of Spain, are plaguing Port of Spain? How are you going to turn that around?
Well, people of Port of Spain who have been estranged, and I use the word estranged, meaning who have been separated from Port of Spain and feel as if they're not a part, they need to be relinked to Port of Spain. They need to become shareholders. So I'm calling upon every single person of Port of Spain, the gangsters, so-called community leaders, that the time is coming when you will be a shareholder of Port of Spain. You will be part of the productivity and you will be a beneficiary. Every woman, every boy, every girl, every family. This is Port of Spain, this is our home, and you have to live and thrive there. As a mayor, I will afford that for the people.
Former Prime Minister, Mr. Patrick Manning, was criticized for some of the meetings and stuff like that he held with gang leaders and some of his outreaches.
Yeah.
How are you going to be different from that? And how are you, going to make sure that it doesn't appear the way it appeared for him? How are you going to be different?
Well, Watson Duke and Patrick Manning is two different beings, right? I embody with me a history. I know what it is to be poor. I know what it is to go up with ordinary people. I'm a local, all right? These suits don't make me any sophisticated man. I'm just a local man. And so when the people see me, they see themselves. And so Watson Duke having a meeting with leaders or gang leaders, it's normal. I could tell you, I've been around the block in Port of Spain, all the blocks. I know all the leaders. And they are some of the most respectful people, I'm saying that here, I ever met. I've never heard them cuss obscene language or use threat. I've never seen a firearm brandished. Always respect. And when I go, I sit and I line with them, I engage them. We just talk shop, we talk sometimes nonsense. And they just want to laugh. They just want money. They just want to build themselves, to care for their family. All of them will like to see their generation grow. And they're not into war. But sometimes, in order to remain on top, you have to fight for your dollar. And so fighting for a dollar means you bring more dollar to the guys. As the mayor of Port of Spain, we have to ensure there's a constant flow of dollar to all residents, accessible to all residents who want to work and who want to build their community. So they have a responsibility. The responsibility is to help me keep Port of Spain safe. Help me keep an order in Port of Spain. And of course, many of them are trade people. We are going to ensure that they become part of the building of Port of Spain, because a man who builds a house wouldn't want to tear it down. So they must become part of it, as I said, shareholders in the success of Port of Spain. It's very real. I'm very down to earth. I'm very pragmatic.
All right. And in terms of going back to Roxborough, you know, you presented this massive plan about
the city of Roxborough.
The city of Roxborough. What's happening with that plan? Is that, you know, is that on the back burner now, or
It's not. No government will invest into a country where independents are running it, right?
So you're saying that the talks that you had,
Farley and his team, they are big turn off to any investor in Tobago. They will not invest. They are highly unstable. It amazes me to see how they have disintegrate and degenerate from being a beacon of hope to darkness and despair among the people. I just removed myself from them, and I have left them to continue with their business. He said he's the one boss. He controls things. I said, okay, one boss, control things. And I step aside. But to see how they have lost vision easy, and people have lost hope and trust in them, to me, it's strange. No one will want to talk to them. I could tell you that while I had that vision going on, I was in contact with one of the, I want to say, but someone who was connected to the ruler of Dubai. And they were very much interested. Very, very much interested. We had several meetings on the phone, and they were very much interested in that. I also spoke to persons from America, large corporations, because I mean, I'm a man around, right? And they were very much interested. Persons are interested in that type of development. That is a total game changer for Tobago, that city of Roxborough. But again, pride and hubris sometimes causes people to not see that one thing could light up a whole city, a whole country. And they felt it's Watson Duke trying to enthrone himself as a god among the people of Roxborough, and didn't see it as Roxborough is the only place in Tobago, the only city, the only town that has a large amount of state lands available for development. Scarborough does not have a large amount of state lands for development. So trying to develop Scarborough without concessions and the consent of the people is totally failure. It can't happen. However, if we try to develop Roxborough, 80% of the lands in Roxborough are state lands. There's a lot of room to play there, and you can develop into something beautiful that could help all of Tobago.
So, in other words, you know, you were in disagreement with the idea to redevelop redevelop Scarborough.
Well, no, I'm saying the way they've gone about redeveloping Scarborough is wrong, right? Up to now, we can't see a proper plan for Scarborough. It's just a lot of talk and ideas. And then you're developing Scarborough into what? A first world country? Or just put a port there and you feel it's first world? No. If you're going to develop a first world country, one thing must feed into the next. There must be a master plan. How are you going to renovate the entire front of Scarborough? Are you going to acquire it by compulsory acquisition? If so, you will need central government backing. Who we have there? We have nobody in central government. And the money you will have to pay people is going to be a whole heaping sum of money. Our 200-300 million cannot be used to pay people. That's not enough. So again, it's a failed plan because the minds of these people are still childish. You need to go to an area where you have room to expand, where you have state lands, and you can develop the place. But they do not see it that way. Again, they see it in a way where all of them want to become gods. But I'll tell you something. I've learned one thing, yeah? If you really want to manage the outcome of something, you have to lead it yourself. Never me again put a next man in charge of my ship. Yeah? I'm going to lead my ship myself, Because that's the only way you could manage the outcome of something. Put in someone who doesn't share the same vision, you have what we have in Tobago right now. A lost child running the government or the THA.
Now, as we're getting ready to wrap up this conversation, I just want you to address Tobago in a sense. A lot of people were expressed opinions of disappointment about some of the things that happened in recent times. And you know, they're very confused, and a lot of them are just looking on. What would you say to those people that are just, you know, trying to come to terms as to what happened politically, what happened with the PDP, and then what happened with your part, this new part that you're on?
Well, the PDP is grounded, it's rooted. As you know, the bamboo is hard to be uprooted. You can cut it down, it will shoot again. You can burn it will shoot again. The bamboo is one of the more strongest and resilient plants, and so is the PDP. The PDP is not a one-man show. It is led by one man. As you can see, there are 3 hands there, 1 hand higher than the rest, 2 are below. So it's also, and the symbol is a flame. It will always lead the way. And so right now, there are persons who are confused because there's hopelessness in Tobago, particularly because Fale is breeding hopelessness and despair. They are confused. But if you follow me, I am on my path that I told them I'm on. And I'm not coming off that path. I'm very focused. Very, very focused. All jokes aside, Watson Duke is very, very focused, meticulously. And so my goal right now is to assume the position of the mayor, and from the mayor, become the prime minister, where I'll be able to govern Trinidad and Tobago, because we have nobody making rules for us. We vote for people, but when they go there, they become PNM representatives. They become UNC representatives. What about the representative of the people? Who is echoing the sentiments of the people in Parliament? No one. It's gangs, red versus yellow.
Now, we have been getting some questions, and I want to give you the chance to address it. I mean, you told me something at the start. Well, you told me something at the start, and this is, of course, in relation to Ms. Jackson. You know, people are looking forward to some, at least some thoughts on that. But I want you to give the people a chance, or at least to say where do you stand with that whole situation is now. Yeah.
Ms. Jackson. I call by name, Ms. Jackson.
Not related.
Ms. Jackson.
Yes.
You cannot blame me for being an attractive black man. All right? And people like a man who's rough and tumble, dresses well, smell well, speak well, and is strong. Because there's a shortage of men today in our society. Men have been emasculated and ridiculed and pushed down, you know? And so when a man is up and is assertive and is going somewhere, a lot of women want to hitchhike, but I don't have room for hitchhikers, right? And she was one of those hitchhikers, right? And I told her straight, I want no relationship with her. None. None whatsoever. I'm a big man, right? And if I like somebody, I like someone. I'm absolutely plain with that. My life is my life, and I love my life. I don't want to be nobody else, no Mandela, no Martin Luther, nobody. I want to be Watson Duke. And I'm proud of Watson Solomon Duke. The good, the bad, the firm and the weak and the strong and the slippery, whatever it is, that's Watson Duke. It's what will make the story of my life. When I get together to pen my book, and I begin to speak about Watson Solomon Duke, a lot of persons are going to gain courage. They will recognize, you know what, I could identify with this. I could relate to this. So I am relatable. I'm not some straight man up there. No, my family love me, my children love me, and I love them to all. So that whole thing about Miss Jackson, and that is not a feature in my life. She has her own issues, she's dealing with them the best way how. But I've told her straight from day one, and I told her at the end, I want no relationship with her. You could know who you like and you do like, right? Yeah. So I'm not in that game with anybody at all. I'm very serious in that. But Watson Duke, I prefer the female sex. That's what I prefer. Right?
And
why you laughing like that? Listen, I prefer. Yeah, but the preference out there, that's my preference. Yeah, but I have friends who, girls like girls, men like men, and that's okay with me. That's their choice. But I like the female sex.
Were there any lessons you learned from that whole situation?
Well, I wouldn't say lessons, but I learned people more.
Okay.
Right? That men can be raped. I've learned that. I've learned that the best way to deal with people who you don't want a relationship with is to make it public from day one. Because some women don't know how to stop and when to stop. They just keep pushing and pushing and pushing. Yeah? And I think that you have to make it very public to all and sundry. I don't want you. Everybody here, embarrass them up front. Yeah? Because they will take every opportunity to be smiling with you and sitting next to you and giving people impression that you're into something. But I'm a man of respect and decorum. I mean, I would not go out of my way to publicly embarrass someone. I just take a lot, you know what I mean? I just suffer a lot in silence. And I could suffer. I built it for that kind of way. I'm not one who is here like putting up with that nonsense, you know? I'm not on that. Straight. I like who I like. I Watson Duke. I mean, what there is not to like about Watson Duke? I think everybody gonna like a Duke. You know what I mean? What is not to like? You know? There's nothing with that. But respect. If I say I don't like you, I don't like you. That's my point. Yeah? Let me like who I like. And who like me, and I like them, fine, we're good. But if I don't like you, I don't like you. In that way.
And now, any final words that you want to leave, especially to the people of Port of Spain who are seeking to get their support?
But to the people of Port of Spain, I'm saying when you vote for Watson Duke as mayor, you're voting for a real man. A man who is rough and tumble, a man who's a visionary, a man who's a fighter, a man who will not turn his back on you, but a man who will see you through to the end. And I'm begging you for this opportunity to just represent you this once, and you will see a change. I will be a sneakers, jeans, and jersey mayor, a man of the streets. And if you have no water, that is my problem. If you have problem with lights, that is my problem. Any problem in the city of Port of Spain is my problem. Unemployment is my problem. Health issues, my problem. Because the mayor must have a voice and have some testosterone if he's a man. All right? He must have that. And I'm saying I have that. I possess that. You need someone like me to represent, to be your voice. Thank you, and Tobago. I love all the bad and all the pick me, you know. So love me, you know. Come on, love all the too. Love all the man.
Thank you so much, Mr. Duke. It was a pleasure being able to speak with you this morning and just to kind of air out a lot of the things that are within the space.
Lovely. Thank you.
All right, viewers, so thank you for locking on. This has been a wonderful time with you this morning. Good morning, Tobago, on the Tobago Updates show. Again, thank you for being with us, and don't worry, we'll be back again tomorrow with some very wonderful conversations as we continue to bring to you some of the best coming out of you. All right, see you tomorrow.
We are people in